So I had a thought, as I often do. And before I decided to pass out to total sleep, I thought about how many pluses to give Respec and New Game Plus. And I started thinking about it because it's all kind of relative to each other, right? So I started thinking, what does this screen do better and worse than other games? It does a lot better. But I actually can think of several things that another game does better than this. And that game is World of Warcraft. I'm just going to give it away. But WoW does some really good stuff with that. So WoW is a better respec system, better talent system for that matter. So WoW gets even more positives than this does. Oh gosh, I just realized something. Yep, I'm right. Oh wow. Okay. Give me a moment to read my own thoughts here. That's what I thought. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's say thank you very much for Zakarum. For Ire. My life for Ner'zhul. I'll put that towards the RTS block, the Dragon Quest IV, and the Dragon Quest V. Thank you. Always appreciate. Okay. So I'm just gonna summarize my thoughts. 6 positives for Respec, 9 positives for New Game Plus. Let's just summarize that. This is the best New Game Plus system I've ever seen in any game ever. As I've said, it's actually kind of a development of New Game Plus. It actually bypasses what would normally be New Game Plus. It's a very good New Game Plus. It allows you to go back in progress. What I mean by that is most games, you only access New Game Plus after you've beaten the entire game. Whereas in this game, the only thing you have to do is get to a point, and at that point, you can go to anything previous. So it's more granular. You know, I'm into granularity. You know, I love that kind of nuance. So it's more granular. It's a good New Game Plus to begin with. It's literally just menu done, right, in order to do it. So it's very accessible. It's good in general. It allows you to do it granularly on the fly. And, it also works in conjunction with and supports multiple other systems, including the bosses and the replayability and co-op. So that's pluses, pluses, pluses. As far as the respec, wrong screen. As far as the respec goes, so obviously this is a very good respec, so that's 3 positives. But then I thought about it, and it's actually more than that. Because as I said, as we talked about, this isn't actually respec. We're just categorizing it as respec. What this is total malleability of build. And what we're doing is we're only giving this 6 positives, because the other positives are going to go under builds, which we haven't even talked about yet. Like, we need to talk about builds and classes at some point. But anyways, so the fact that I could swap these abilities, the fact that I could swap, you know, the runes, the fact that I could swap which ones I've equipped, and the fact that I could swap the passives. All of that combined kind of evens out to be 6 positives. It's actually more like 2, 2, and 2 is actually how that's specifically being parceled out. So, yeah, no, this... And Plutonia actually got me thinking about something. I don't want to go off too much on a tangent here. I'm already starting late. But Plutonia made a comment about, you know, well, you wouldn't want respecking to be in Fallout, because then you could just respec, you know, lockpick, get past a skill check, and then respec back. The problem is, I absolutely do want respecking in Fallout, for the same reason I like respecking in most games that have builds. But the problem is Plutonia's concern is absolutely valid. Because in a game like Fallout, and that's true up to including Fallout 3, even the more recent Fallouts, skill checks exist, and skill checks are barriers for progress, are methods by which quests can be solved, or loot can be gained, or bosses can be dealt with or bypassed. And so being able to just respec like that kind of diminishes that. So I kind of actually agree with Plutonia, even though I would love to have a respec option. The off the top of my head idea I came up with is divvy up skills in something like Fallout into 2 categories. Make it so that there's, let's call it what it is, combat skills, which you could swap on the fly, and that allows you to try out different builds. And when I say swap at the fly, probably like go back to town kind of a thing, but you know, same general idea, right? So you can try out machine gun, or heavy weapons, or pistol, or punching, or explosives, or whatever. And then the more committal stuff is over here, and this is the stuff that, let's call it what it is, this is all tied to progress. This is how you move your way through games. I'm not even sure this is a good fix. This is literally an off-the-top-of-my-head idea. It's just, it got me thinking about it, because you're right, that would kind of suck. Even though I still would totally want respec within a game like Fallout. I'd love to be able to try out other things without having to, you know, start a new character. Now, having said that, one of the best possible defenses a developer can make to diminish the need for respecing is to make everything viable. One moment. So, hopefully I muted that properly. That was kind of loud. Can't even see the mute thing. What I mean by that, one of the biggest problems that games tend to have that do not have respec is that there are builds or abilities or setups which suck, right? Let me explain this a little bit differently. In my opinion, it's always going to add a positive to allow respecing, but in some games, it's a negative to not have respecing. I can name 2 right off the top of my head. Diablo 2 and System Shock 2. In both of those games, not being able to respec more or less on the fly is actually to the detriment of the game because of how they do their builds and because of how their abilities and skills and setups are. It is astonishingly easy to have a crap build in System Shock 2 or in D2. We had a manageable build when we were doing D2, but even that was substantially and objectively subpar. But we were locked into it. There was very little we could do about that. Excuse me. I don't know, just food for thoughts, because there's lots of ways we could do this, and it kind of applies differently depending on the game. This is one of the reasons why there's no such thing as an automatic positive and an automatic negative. Everything depends. Everything depends.
I have some new items that I'm certain you will love.
Did you hear? Old Rumford has us down to...
Excuse me.
Hey, come over here. I've got some new...
You probably never heard me say this, Mr. Red, but there's only one other game that might challenge D3 for gameplay score. It's also by Blizzard. So yeah, there's a reason we're just using numbers here. Let's go ahead and update the HUD. Let's go ahead. So we're up to 13 on the stories, and we're starting to see those negatives creep in. They're slow, but they're definitely going to creep in. Yes, StarCraft 2 is correct. We're actually technically up to 58 positives right now. And we're up to there. I don't know why I put a question mark. That's definitely a negative. I just don't know what to put that under. So, yeah, StarCraft 2 has its issues on the story axis, just like a lot of Blizzard games do. But goddamn, is that a good game. It is the best RTS game ever made. I don't know what you want from me. And then Diablo 3 is the best this type of game that's ever been made either. Yeah, as much as it sucks to admit it, because both games have massive flaws, this is kind of peak Blizzard right here. Hello, Mockingbirds. That's what I thought. How is your lovely day going? It is a lovely day, right? Because if it isn't, so help me God!
Scavengers are ugly, pathetic creatures who survive off of carrion and corpses, too diseased to attract any other carnivores. I did once meet a raggedy fellow who claimed that he had trained one of the beasts to bring him large rats to eat. But I'm sure the story is utter nonsense.
So, I'm not a big fan of unreliable narrators. But Abdalazir, oh my god, Abdalazir is one of the best unreliable narrators I've ever seen. Here's the deal. He's the guy, so half of the lore tidbits we get are from Kane. Those are played straight. Kane knows what he's talking about, and whatever he's saying is the truth. It is actual lore of the particular creature, or whatever. Al-Hazir? Yeah, he's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. But it is well written sufficient that you can tell the truth based on how he tells it. Like, in often cases, like, he'll say that, I've heard some rumors about some kind of thing where they'll actually go do this, which is absolute nonsense, of course. And therefore, you know what he's actually talking about. Just little stuff like that. Oh, and by the way, hopefully Stormgate will actually be worth a damn. I will freely admit I have no hope for it. But I look forward to being proven wrong on that. I mean, campaign co-op sounds legit, but we'll see.
A foe worth killing.
We'll see. Ooh, you got some help, boy. Oh, you're a teleporter too. Okay, let's clean up the bit area here. Let's clean this up. The very thought of a pocket dimension filled with greed is simply ridiculous. Could you imagine mountains of gold covered in gemstones? Sounds like a fantasy, not reality. See you around, Mr. Red. Enjoy spending money. Ooh, this is actually proving to be kind of clean here. Hey, Uthor, welcome to a game that... I just want you to look at the score so far, Uthor. Look how early we are in Act 1, and then look at the score again for a second. These are spawner champions. Hi, Mockingbirds.
I'm just...
Wait, I already said hi. But yes. Yeah, we've been playing the actual game for like 2 hours. Granted, I did have a lot of ground to cover. We've mostly covered stuff like interface and menu design and HUD design and interface design and feature design and interface design and HUD design. Yes, separately.
My power grows.
I mean, as I like to say, there's a lot of layers of design in this game. It is astonishing how much better this game has become after launch. And a fairly large portion of that is owed to the Reaper of Souls expansion, which added a lot of good functionality to this game. Oop. Yeah, we'll go with that. And that. I almost thought about pulling out my D3 on the Switch just for this review, but I decided against it. I don't want to break the plastic just yet. Oh, me too. I've already given this game 3 negatives for that. It's actually funny. In most cases, having an automatic... what was it? 12 negatives to gameplay before we even start the game would be a death knell. Most games would never recover from that many negatives. And we haven't even touched the transmog system yet because in lore we haven't actually accessed it yet. Oh, we haven't even talked about the crafting system yet. We haven't talked about anything yet. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, it's not even a speed bump here. What's the score? Oh, okay, cool. Good to know. Fill up the map a little bit. We're getting some irritating enemy types, so we might not kill too much stuff here. Yeah, we're about to get followers. It's one of the next features we're about to unlock. What do we got? Vortex? I might be able to manage that. Yeah, WoW's system honestly needs updating, and WoW's system is, if we're being honest, the overall best transmog system of any game ever. And it still could actually use an improvement. So right now we are playing a wizard at the moment, Mockingbirds. The wizard's shtick is being a wizard. Any questions? Speaking of which, what did we just get? Let's see, so we have Spectral Blade now, this is a fun one. Personal favorite for when I'm doing a melee. And we now have Obliteration. Increases speed of the orb and damage, but reduces the area of effect. What would I improve about it in WoW? Two things. Ironically, only two. First, allow you to unlock transmog for classes, or for gear that you cannot currently equip. If I'm on my warrior, and a cloth piece drops, or a mage set piece drops, that should unlock it for my account. Transmog is already per account. There is absolutely no reason to limit it per class. That's point number one. Point number two is getting greedy. So I'll admit that. Point number one is something that I would consider mandatory, and frankly, I'm a little surprised they haven't done it yet. But point number two is getting greedy. I would love for there to be a transmog loot mode. And the way that would work, and I actually know that they can do this, is, so since your transmog is all unlock stuff, right? Now, quick asterisk. Transmog unlocks are actually per item and per appearance. To explain what I mean by that, let's say you have 4 armor pieces. They all look exactly the same. But if you loot one, while you have the appearance unlocked, the game actually keeps track of the specific item you got too. So it will then consider these other 3 appearances as valid for unlocks. Make sense? I'm pretty sure I know why they do this, and it's a programming logic reason. But the bottom line here is, it can keep track of which items you have unlocked, which items you have unlocked and which items you haven't, okay? What I would do is I would have a transmog loot mode, which is you go through a dungeon at any level, old, new, in between, with 1 people, with 15 people, doesn't matter. And it's effectively personal loot, but the items they can drop will never be items you already have unlocked. It's just there to get cosmetics, right? And so I go through Firelands, which I'm missing like 3 items in Firelands. Yes, total. Across every spec. And I would love to be able to go through Firelands, kill the bosses I know have items I'm missing, and get the items I'm missing. Don't need the gold, because that's not where we're on. We're in transmog mode. So it just drops the transmogs for you, because it's personal loot, that you already do not have flagged. This would mean, hypothetically, that if you kill a boss and you have every item that boss can give an appearance for, it drops nothing. That's how the system would work. Yeah, exactly. It's to cut down on the grind, but also to incentivize grind, as weird as that may sound. Because at that point, you know that as you're going back through some of these things, you're going to get something that you don't already have. Guaranteed. Because it'll drop, if it drops anything, it'll drop something you need. And so all of a sudden, I don't know about anybody else, I know at least 3 people personally, including me, I would start hitting all the old dungeons and all the old raids and start filling out that list. I would love to do that. And if the first point, which is the mandatory point, which is you can unlock for everyone is there, you could do everything I just mentioned on 1 character. You don't have to, because you can take a second or a third or a fourth. It would appeal tremendously to the collectathon aspect of gameplay, which I should mention the transmog system already encourages. even if you never want to use that appearance, you know you have or don't have it. There's a freaking menu that tells you that. And I absolutely, especially with the trading post, absolutely. By the way, I love the trading post. Great idea. So, yeah, I would absolutely love that crap. I really would. I think those are the two things. Like, the first thing, like I said, I consider that mandatory. But the second thing would be awesome. And I legitimately would start playing WoW periodically for exactly that reason. Just to go back and start filling out the thing. What's the trading post? Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. How do I summarize the trading post in one sentence? Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, go ahead, Uthor, because I could summarize the trading post in, like, 17 sentences. Okay, here's our new appearance. Notice the appearance is different.
Arcane power.
And here's our arcane blades. They look really cool! Have I mentioned how cool everything looks in this game? Because this is going to be a game where every class is going to get triple viscerality positives. Possibly more. We'll debate that. Because, God, everything looks so cool. By the way, notice the shrines now tell you exactly what they give you. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the trading post. I think that was a huge, good idea for longevity of the game. WoW, so FF14 has already figured this out. WoW, I think, is still kind of figuring it out. They're still dipping their toes into it, which is funny when you think about it, because FF14 took the idea from WoW. But cosmetic endgame is a real thing. It's a very real concept that keeps people playing and keeps people interested and keeps people having fun a lot longer than a lot of other things will. So, yeah, I noticed that. They finally added grays and whites to transmog ability. So, and let's be clear, the transmog system has been inching forward in terms of quality since it was introduced. Some of you probably don't remember, transmog when it was first introduced was actually very limited.
I don't have enough arcane
Remember when you had to go to the damn vendor and, like, he didn't have, like, the full iterative list, and, like, the way you could transmog certain weapons on other weapons didn't even exist, and just so forth and so on, right? Now, this is Mortar. Ironically, not great when you're in melee. Because Mortar does that. Those shots hurt like hell, too, so it's a good thing. Yeah. But I will always defer to the comment I like to make periodically. Oh yeah, I can just kill the sound in this because it's a modern Blizzard game. I can just do this while we're doing this to get rid of some of the, the noise. Anyways. One person rather infamously once said that you don't want to be fighting a pink Darth Vader. That person was an idiot. Because that is actually exactly what I want. And I am not alone in that. People want to be able to cosmeticize however they can.
I was able to trace some carrion bats back to one of their nests. What I found shocked me. The nest itself is a living organism, a mature bat that has been mutated by the darkest of magics. I no longer doubt that demonic forces have corrupted these creatures.
Ah, congrats, Bregman.
I become more powerful.
So, some people have said exactly what Plutonia just said. So, here's the dealio. The strongest argument I've ever heard... Oh, yeah, sorry, I was literally... The whole reason I paused was to do that. The strongest argument I've ever heard for why, total, no really, cosmetics shouldn't be a thing, boils down to PvP. This could be argued to be a full challenging thing because there are other aspects of challenge versus gameplay other than killing other players. But what it boils down to at the end of the day is PvP. There is a value in seeing what the enemy has equipped by just looking at them at a glance, right? Now, I actually even agree with that. Thing is, That's an easy fix. There's literally a separate flag, which the game keeps track of. In fact, there's actually like 3, which the game keeps track of for whether you are in like a battleground or an arena or whatever. The game also has the ability to just kind of turn off all transmog. There's the solution. If you're doing an arena match, you have no transmog. If you're doing a PvP match, you have no transmog. That's it. This is a solution that other MMOs have used for exactly the same reason, to great effect, I might add. Because at that point, you look at the enemy and you see, aha, that's what they are, that's what they're equipped with, that's what they can do. No problem. So, what I want heirloom items in Diablo. No. Diablo 3 in particular already has plenty of heirloominess. Here, let me demonstrate what I mean. What are heirloom items? Oh, wow, there's a question I haven't heard in a while. Okay. Heirloom items are items you get on a character that are then unlocked for your account. Generally speaking, they usually are max stat for level. So to explain what I mean by that a little bit, you know how we've got the stat rolls right there? You know, it's 3 to 5, or this is 1 to 17. Generally speaking, they're not actually literal max, but they're very high-end in terms of the budget, the item budget I've talked about so often. So they're really good gear, and they level with you. So right now, that is a level 3 glove. But I'm not level 3, I'm level 12. So if I had heirloom gloves on, I would have level 12 gloves on. Make sense? So they level with you. And there's actually another caveat. Most heirloom weapons or items or gear or whatever also have a bonus effect of increasing the amount of experience you gain. Now that's really useful in a game that's as alt-friendly and alt-heavy as WoW. Ironically, this game is pretty alt-friendly too, but you can level very quickly, as I've already shown. I mean, we're already level 12, for God's sakes. So I'm not sure the X boost is really necessary here. Nevertheless, I mean, I'd be okay with it if they decided to add heirloom gear, but the main reason I don't consider it a huge priority is I need to go do this. I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to show you. So, I already have heirloom weapons, kind of. It's just they are a little level limited. I can access every piece of gear that I've dumped in here from my main. In fact, there you go. There's some I could actually... Oh, no, I can't equip those. Never mind, sorry. I swear there was like one I could actually equip. Maybe I finally got rid of all my Lobby stuff. I might have finally cleared out all my Lobby stuff. Huh. Nope, there we go. I can equip that Hellfire necklace right there. There you go. The more I'm saying this out loud, the more I'm talking myself into it. I think I'm actually... Aw, poor Farnham. I think the more I'm saying this out loud, the more I'm thinking that I would actually be in favor of heirloom items in Diablo 3. So you talked me into it. Congratulations. Because, I mean, we've already got the shared inventory, right? A lot of D3 is per account, which I like. I like my gem collection, by the way. You're probably wondering why it's so small. It's because I have recently used several gems. I recently went through this and turned several gems. So I mentioned gold sinks. I could make, you know, however many flawless royal rubies or flawless whatevers I need right now, but it would cost me tens of millions of gold. That's why I just am sitting on 700 amethysts right here. Because when I finally need that flawless amethyst, sure, I'll go ahead and do it then. But for now, I'm just going to let that gold sit there, and we'll get there when we get there. This stuff is its own problem. We'll talk about that later. Anyways. I can go back this way. Amethysts are pretty.
Spent all night alongside the blacksmith's wife, tending the wound.
Anyways.
Tell anyone, but I've got some new items you really...
Words. It's actually talking about something other than... it's gone. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Who needs the brain meats? I don't need brain meats. Death to brains. Death to brains! I mean, you're right, Blade Jamal. We are very early on in the game still. Like, extraordinarily early on. Oh yeah, you notice we can run forever and have no stamina bar?
I will enjoy this. I'm just warming up.
One other thing that's very true of this game, that was actually kind of true in D2, but it was unintentional in D2, and it's much more deliberate in D3. D2 and D3 both have an emphasis on being able to do AoE damage. Any build that's going to be able to do AoE damage is generally going to hang better than one that can't. I just mentioned that because we're level 12, and we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, AoEs at this point. Yeah, D3 is much more AoE focused. Now this is funny, because you're probably thinking, well, what about boss fights? That's actually a very valid question. It's one of the reasons why single target builds actually still have a validity. Like this attack I'm using right here is technically an AoE, but it's a lot less of an AoE. Specifically to do damage to a single target. There are definitely boss cracker builds in this game.
I need arcane power.
Also, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I do believe they got rid of the your defense is lower while you're running mechanic. Which I'm in favor of. Because screw that. Screw days, am I right? So I've never played D3 by myself, not counting today, and the last time we did a low run of this game. Having said that, I would say pretty much any class can be a tanky enough build to hang by yourself, but ironically, well, before I actually answer Mockingbird's directly, can anyone tell me, what is my personal tankiest class? Which class have I set up to be the most tanky? We got the big old barbarian, plate armor death. We've got the witch doctor and their billions and billions of pets. But I make it to, obviously, it's my wizard. It's my squishy little mage is by far my tankiest class. She can just sit there on high torment and just laugh at the enemies.
Need more arcane power.
So that's my answer to you, Mockingbirds. Play a sorceress, or excuse me, a wizard is the name of the class. It's actually what I'm playing right now. You can shoot galaxies at people. That's what I'm shooting here. You can't tell.
I don't have enough arcane power.
Yeah, as I was going to kind of talk about when we start talking about builds, it's kind of the Guild Wars 2 problem. You ask me, how does a thief play in Guild Wars 2? And I say, well, it depends on your build. And you're like, okay, but how does it play? Well, it depends on your build. So, how does Wizard play? Well, it depends on your build. I'm not trying to be cheeky, it's just the truth. You could set up every class in this game to be any of the primary playstyles relatively easily. It's mostly a matter of which specific variety of build you want to go with. And, of course, the cosmetics. That is to say, how you look, how you sound, and general viscerality. So, okay, we just did a micro dungeon. Optional dungeon. Sorry, I don't know why I said micro. This isn't a micro dungeon. We just did an optional dungeon. I'm familiar with these because I used to do adventure mode and bounties all the time and probably will in the future. Things I like about how they do optional dungeons in D3. They're usually 1 or 2 floors, not super large, but decently large. They usually have a pretty decent amount of bosses and stuff in them. They almost always have several shrines in them. They always have a resplendent chest at the end, which has a higher chance of dropping certain types of items and better gear. They always have this. This is actually one of the weirdly... Like, I don't hear anybody talk about this, but this is one of the better quality of life changes they added. You know what this is? It's an exit. It takes you right back to the beginning of the dungeon. It's such a minor thing, but it is a fairly large quality of life change. Oh, sure, you could still teleport to town. That's fine. But the ability to just go back right where you were when you started is awesome, especially for the optional dungeons. Agreed, Eternus. So we caught up? We're not caught up. What have we gotten? Oh, now we have Arcane Torrent. This is actually a favorite of mine. And, of course, we have Shatter. Those are good ones. Okay, so let's show off Arcane Torrent a little bit. I love the viscerality of wizards. Look at it. You can actually see where my mouse is because you can see where it's aiming.
I don't have enough arcane power.
You notice how long that took me to run out of arcane power, too. With later builds, gear, and setup, that you can just sit there turreting forever. And as you can see, its range is the screen.
I'm unstoppable.
Because it's just whatever you can target. I think I've made my point.
I am stronger still.
That guy! He was happy about that. So, we just got a couple more abilities. So, Magic Missile now has Glacial Spike. Hey! So, okay. We've already shown off how runes can buff your ability by making it do more damage, or making it do an AoE, or whatever. But we haven't really started to get into the really cool runes yet. However, remind me to talk about class design. However, now at level 13, we're finally starting to get to the point where we gain things that actually mutate, change abilities, rather than just making them better. So this will turn Magic Missile, here, I'll just demonstrate really quick. Which is that, it's a very vanilla ability, but it's an infinite caster, and it's got, again, infinite range. Into a Glacial Spike, which will instead do a Shard of Ice, which will explode on impact, doing AoE damage, cold, and freeze for 1 second. Enemies cannot be frozen more than once every 5 seconds. Internal cooldown debuffs, which is a very common feature of Blizzard games. So we're just going to scooch around here, and there we go. So now the ability doesn't just do more damage or change the damage type, it actually changes its function. This is the stay away from me forever ability. We also got Energy Twister. It's pretty much straight out of the Druid's Handbook. Oh, we also got Evocation, which reduces all cooldowns by 20%. Incredibly useful for some builds. We're going to stay on Blur for the moment, but oof. That's Energy Twister. kind of roam around, pseudo randomly. They just do damage. They stay there for quite a bit, as you can see. You know.
Need more arcane power.
Oh god, the teleport explode build is a fun one. Energy Twister is a little bit too random for me. It's the same reason I didn't like a lot of the casting abilities on Druid back in G2. Like, exact same reason. But there are ways to make it work. And I believe it's Fire Twister is pretty mean. I mean, at least 3 per class, Eternals. Bare minimum. And even that might be challenged. The lore change? You know, I don't actually remember which one is the Zanesu. If it's the Sorceress or if it's the Wizard. I think it's the Sorceress. And the Wizard's just a prodigy. I don't remember. But what I do remember is, enemies hit by the Twister take 15% increased damage from fire for 4 seconds. Yeah. Some of these are really mean. Each cast of Energy Twister grants you a lightning charge. You can store 3 charges at a time. Casting a signature spell releases all lightning charges as a bolt of lightning. Yeah, we're going to go back to Wave of Force because I don't actually like Twister either. But, you know, options are good. Options are good. Options are good. You don't get to reach me. You don't get to reach me. Go away. Go away. Anyways, I think I've shown off enough here. Let's move on. Hey, Imperial Star Destroyer. I don't think I'm going to do it. Any guesses? Any bets? I don't have a lot of mobile damage right now. And I have absolutely no movement abilities at the moment. I think got him at half. I'm not going to manage it. Maybe? Ooh. Never mind. I got him. So that's a loot goblin. There are several types of them. And, we've talked about the philosophy of loot goblins several times. A loot goblin...
Some devious little goblins have been robbing our merchants. When pursued, they simply open portals and disappear with the most aggravating chuckle. The peasantry seem to believe that the goblins serve a great demon lord known as Greed. And furthermore, that their portals lead to Greed's domain. A ludicrous notion, truly.
Anyways. Obviously, Greed is an optional boss in the Greed dimension. I hope to show it off at least once during this particular run. But that's definitely can't be true. There's no way. There's no way. Absolute nonsense. Imperial Star Destroyer says, what's with the storybook modifier? It's a term, I wish I'd come up with it. Someone else came up with it. It's a term to refer to any game that is enjoyable enough to watch, but not very fun to play. I actually think I have several puzzle rings copies. I haven't even looked, because I'm kind of curious if we're just going to get a total at some point. Oh, we just got a bunch of stuff. Look at all that. Look at all that. Treasure goblins. So, the concept, the gameplay design concept of a treasure goblin is any entity that's like, oh no, you're trying to get me. And it'll rush off, and it almost always gives something worthwhile. Bloodborne has enemies like this. Several Dark Souls games have games like things like this. We were playing something recently that had this, and I can't actually remember what it is off the top of my head. Forgive me. But the idea is they're useful. They're always worthwhile. And Spyro, that was it. We were playing Spyro. Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic also has this to an extent. But their goal is they rush away, and the gameplay design concept is they want you to have to rush after them, which is dangerous. Because in a well-designed situation, they will rush right into enemy forces. How many of you have ever died seeking a treasure goblin in any game? Because that's the point. They want the whole point is to make you go and just beeline the sucker, and to therefore get in far more danger than you otherwise would. Because you have to hurry, otherwise they're going to run off because they're a metal slime, or they're going to portal away, or whatever. And that's a treasure goblin as a concept. Having said that, that concept by itself is kind of whatever. But I do actually like how Diablo 3 does it in particular, because the thing is, there's several different types of treasure goblins in Diablo 3. There's just your typical ones, like the one we just killed. There's ones that drop these suckers, blood shards, which is a whole thing, which we're not going to go into right now. We'll talk about it later. It's just becoming a meme at this point. There are ones that drop gems. There's ones that drop crafting mats. There's the one that splits into other treasure goblins, which is just fantastic. You get my point. What they did, what Blizzard, well, does. They took a concept, a common concept in gameplay design, and they iterated. They iterated on it. And yeah, I was actually just thinking, because Golden Axe is the oldest game I could think of that did treasure goblins. And they were super worthwhile, too. As they usually are. Let's put that under itemization. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to Google this. Hang on. Because there's probably at least a couple types of treasure goblins I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. Because there's several. Oh, here we go. So there's the Blood Thief. That's the one. There's the Gem. There's the Splitter. There's apparently one that just drops a crap ton of gold. There's one that drops specifically weapons and armor. There's one that drops crafting materials. I already mentioned that one. The Rainbow Goblin. I didn't actually know about this one. This one drops a Whimsydale portal. There's the Malevolent Tormentor. I've actually encountered that one. That one drops legendaries. And the Menagerist, which was mentioned in chat. That one drops pets. Cute. Yeah, Magic Pots is a good example of a treasure goblin. And like I mentioned, metal slimes over in the Dragon Quests are similar. Not quite the same, but similar overall concept. Oh god, it's a metal slime. Get it, and it ran away. And of course, if you get it, it's lucrative. The Splitter's fantastic. I hope to show up at least one of those during this run. Although, when we end up doing Greed, I'll probably get an opportunity then. Excuse me. We leveled lately? No, okay. Can't even keep track of when I've leveled. This is a good time as any to mention the relatively simple but effective buff HUD. It's right down here. You see this? It actually, so if you mouse over it, it'll tell you what it does and how much longer you have left. But even at a glance, it's got like that little clock fill in, fill out kind of a thing going on. So you can always tell where your buffs are at and how long you've got left, which is very useful compared to some other games I could mention. So, cool, as they say. I'm going to head back to New Tristram for 1 second. Just 1 quick second. I guess I can just do this. Let's just do this. I have a lot of those. Where would I put those? I suppose I could search. Because there's a frickin' search. Did you know there was a search button right there? Did you know that was a thing? I actually do not have any puzzle rings right now. Wow. Have I unlocked primals? I actually don't know. I think I have. I mean, I have ancients, but I don't know if I have primals. In fact, I probably have. Yeah, I have an ancient right there. I'm not sure if I have primals unlocked. Well, whatever. I mean, I agree with that. Okay, so what do we got? Anything is better than nothing. We'll go ahead and do that and that, and then we'll immediately replace it. Keep that. With that. We'll get set for the moment. Yeah, I'm sure amongst everyone there's probably a puzzle ring somewhere. Or we might just get lucky. That'd always be nice.
You're the one who saved Cain. You must help us survive the Skeleton King, too.
Doug found some interesting things on my latest dig. You should take a look.
Oh, those gloves look weird on me, don't they? Because Primal's a new thing. New-ish. I feel like I have unlocked Primal. But, whatever. Oh yeah, optional dungeon. Sorry, I shouldn't do this. Maybe I haven't, because I don't play solo. The only time I've done solo stuff, and I have actually, semi-frequently, is I have done it for the seasonal stuff. Every season has had, like, do such and such of a grift solo as part of the journey. My maximum count is 1100 right now. Oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. So, most fun class to play in D3. Oof.
I'm just warming up.
This one. No, let me actually think about that, because that's tough. That's actually tough.
The tragedies in these lands have left many restless spirits in their wake, and they demand retribution. These spirits will take out their vengeance on any unsuspecting individual who may pass, for they believe that the blood of the living will yet restore the lives that were ripped away from them.
Didn't see that coming, did?
Demons have been known to devour their own young when no other nourishment is available. Their offspring, the imps, sometimes manage to flee and band together with other demon spawn. They rove in vicious packs, ready to descend upon the unwary traveler and rip his body to shreds with their tiny needle-sharp teeth.
Yeah, and the best part, Tyron, is we haven't even gotten to class design yet. Remember, the biggest bundle of positives that D2 got by far was for its class design. Think about what D3 is going to get. But yeah, no, this game isn't dark, Mr. Red. Nah, it's fine, Papanese. We'll get there. There's no rush. I was gonna say, I have to admit, there's something really satisfying about the, what is it, the barrage build for Crusader. You get absolutely no damage. But, well, you do an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage.
I need arcane
The
power.
one that's based on your thorns damage is the one I'm thinking of. And you just run around and, so the way it works is barrels just drop around you as you're running. Just and they do damage based on your thorns. And there's other aspects of it, but that's the main aspect thereof. It's amusing.
This is the wrong crypt. The crown isn't here.
So, we now have ice armor, but we'll come back to that in a second, because now diamond skin can be crystal shell. I like Frost Nova. Although, you know, do like diamond skins. We're going to go and put that there. Now we have ice armor, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It is a 10-minute thing that allows you to reduce damage from melee attacks by 12%, and melee attackers specifically are either chilled or frozen for 3 seconds, depending on their class type. So, boop. We just have frost armor on now. Thorns in D3 is specifically reflect damage. You're hit by X, you do Y in return. I love that exit feature, I really do. There's so many... Someone said this in chat earlier, and they were absolutely right. D3 is arguably not that impressive of a game in the big, obvious, sweeping stuff. What it is hundreds upon hundreds of good game design decisions that just kind of dogpile each other. You know? And just make it so that the whole game is just elevated by their existence. So, that pool we just picked up, that's rest state. You actually see it down there. We currently have bonus X, aka rest state. You know exactly what rest state is. See you around, Imperial Star Destroyer! Oh, hi. Have a good rest of your work.
Have enough arcane power.
Yeah, very polished. Do you remember when Blizzard was well known specifically for polish? Like, that was the thing they were most known for? Because I remember that. They weren't innovators. They weren't, you know, industry breakers. God, did they polish their games to a shine. I mean, it's funny you say that about Wolfenstein, because WoW has drifted in and out of that state over its career. That's another... This game is extraordinarily well optimized. It's not often, in fact, it's actually never, that we give a positive for a game being very well optimized. But this would be one of them. Yeah, wow. You know what? I've said this before on camera. You know what the single biggest thing that pissed me off about Shadowlands was? The jailer. But you know what the second biggest thing that pissed me off about Shadowlands? And you know what it is, because I've already said it. It was the lack of polish. There were bugs, spelling errors in the dialogue. There were moments where the quest would, like, stall, or like an NPC would be running towards something and would stop and then would like teleport to its location. It was unpolished. I don't know what better to say. I don't know how better to call that. It looked like something that didn't have those extra passes of making sure that it was as professional? Like, I don't know what word to use. I'm trying to avoid the word polish. I'm struggling at coming up with another adjective. It looked like the kind of thing that I would expect from STO. And I like STO well enough. Quite a bit, actually. But polish that game is not.
I'm unstoppable.
Hi, Flygand. Ping to you. Okay, so we got an ability there. I should probably... So now we have Electrocute, our final signature ability. Go ahead and show that off in a minute. We also gained Numb. Chance to freeze and increase the slow amount of Ray of Frost. This can get ridiculous. We're going to not use that right now, but that can get absolutely silly. So this is Electrocute. It's not super fancy, but there are things you can do to make this bounce like 8 or 9 times. And it can be a...
Crypt fit for a chancellor. The crown must be here.
It can be a fun AoE ability, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Torghast is going to get several positives and one negative when we get there. I guarantee you that right now. Which may surprise some people, but it's still true. I'm like Junior Palpatine right now. That's where I'm going with that.
The unburied are formed from human corpses that were flung into mass graves without a proper burial. This hideous amalgamation of bodies decomposes together into one being, bound by some foul magic. For all my knowledge, I could only flee from it, and I would expect any other sensible person to do the same.
Anne's got a point.
If only they could see me now.
No, I will not allow you to bring that monster Leoric back to this world.
I don't understand. I am Leoric! And I got the crown right here. Oh, I'm sure... Well, I hope we'll get a Whimsy Dale at some point. That's all I'm going to say about that. Sorry, Eamon. Unlocked. Frickin' finally.
I need to go back.
TP. Cold still kills do more damage, reduce cooldown. Enemies killed by cold damage have a chance to release a Frost Nova. Your Hydras deal increased damage to enemies in a blizzard. Cute. Hang on. Put that there. And our first shoulders. That's actually a good question. Can you still get there with the staff? I used to keep staves on me, but I'm not sure I do anymore. As I've mentioned, I've done a few fleecing of my inventories. Oh, never mind. I do have one Staff of Hurting right there. So we have a guaranteed way to show it off. Cold. Obviously, Triaxia. They don't call me the Lich King because I like fire.
You found the crown. Truth be told, I didn't think you'd make it back alive. Ah, it needs repair. Should be no problem. It's good to work again. There. New as the day it was placed upon the Black King's head. I need something more than making spades to occupy my mind. I want my life to mean something.
Then help me. I will use your handiwork for great things. I am sorry about your wife, Hadric. I wish it had not come to that.
You got nothing to apologize for. She was dying and you put her down.
Hadric, it is only proper to grieve for Mira. I can't imagine your pain. I've never been close to anyone.
I don't want to talk about my wife. Dead is dead and gone is gone. Do you want work done or not?
So, better follow through than what we saw previously.
I have the crown. How do I reach the Skeleton King?
At last. With it, you can unlock the sealed door in the room where you rescued me and enter the royal crypts. When you find the Skeleton King, place the crown atop his head and destroy him.
The Skeleton King dies today. I must find the fallen star.
I mean, there's a heaven, but it's... Well, okay, no. There's no heaven. There are the heavens, but the high heavens are not heaven, and I know that sounds confusing, but it's true. The high heavens are not an afterlife. The burning hells are not an afterlife. They're just a place. Yeah, speaking of which, I'm going to grab this really quick.
My dearest Heydrich, do not feel despair, my love. You did everything you could. Our time together meant more than words can say. But in the end, fate is a cruel mistress. Your strength is needed to end the horrors that beset this world. My final wish is that you find your path. Love always. Mira.
I never liked that table. Oh my god, really, Giga Pudding? Crap.
Lazarus. Of that I am certain. He alone had the king's ear, and whispered dark and evil magics into it, instilling the notion of an imminent attack by Westmarch. Afraid to speak against the Archbishop, the councillors nodded their empty heads in agreement, and sent us off to die.
A lot of implication in Lockdonan's messages. Westmarch is the kingdom, ironically, west of here. Westmarch has always been on good terms with Kondurus, even though Kondurus was actually a kingdom of Zakarum, which is of the east. Hey, Van, Sunny. Or Sunny, I can never remember. What did we just get? Slow time! This one has a little more variable use, but is still useful. We'll show it off a little bit, obviously. We also just got Glass Cannon. Increases all damage done by a whopping 15%. That's a blanket increase. But decreases armor and resistances by 10%. Did I mention all of these actually have their own little tidbits of lore there? So long have you focused on twisting reality to your will that time itself seeks to appease you. Glass cannon is, how will I survive? I don't intend to get hit in the first place. If you even touch me, it's because I allowed it. We're going to switch to that, speaking of which.
A foe worth killing!
That's the time slow. That's molten. Those explosions absolutely will kill you in higher difficulties. Not sure what they'll do to us on this one.
If only they could see me now.
Starting to see more and more and more of this stupid pit. Bit of visual storytelling as we get further in and we get closer to the actual base of this. As we just keep going down, God. I mean, I've been pro add-ons since... I guess that'd be late 90s. So, a little biased on the matter. I had a speech yesterday about how being pro add-on is indicative of the kind of mentality you want to engender as a developer. And I stand by everything I said yesterday about that. There is no difference between a mod or an add-on. That's how I differentiate Crazy Horse. I don't!
How does that feel? I need arcane power.
I mean, that would be pretty cool, Eternus. Wouldn't do anything, it's just a cosmetic thing, but it'd be amusing, right? I think it's like the cake layer thing, right? Giga Pudding? Like, what they did was they baked the cake, and they're like, wait, we can make it taller. And so then they baked the cake, and they're like, wait, we can make it taller. And they just kept doing that for a while. I mean, how many levels down was the cathedral back in Diablo 1? 13 or something like that? Over 10. And 10 floors down... 16. And 16 floors down that's really far down. But go look up a 16-story tall building and then think about that inverted. I know, that's not literally true. It's just funny to think about. Listen, Shrek doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'm unstoppable.
Maintain your incantations. You will soon turn.
Ave Magistros.
I'll save you.
Your magic is weakening. I am free.
First time I played this, I was like, oh my god. It's Dominic Keating! And the people I was talking with at the time's reaction was, who? And I'm like, it's Dominic Keating! And they were like, well, we've never watched Enterprise. Because this was a while ago, and this was before, you know, most of my friends had actually acquiesced to watching Enterprise. Because they refused to keep watching after a certain point of it. You get the point. So I'm just like, it's just... Okay.
Who are you?
You will know soon enough. Help me find my gear. I will reward you well. Tell me, what brought you to this infernal place?
I have unfinished business with the Skeleton King.
As do I.
Ah! We're not going to discuss the companion system yet, because he actually hasn't become a companion yet. He's a follower, which has a slightly different AI set and a lot less customization, and is generally a lot less useful than a true companion. Getting down there. Notice the pit's getting smaller.
There are my weapons.
He's free! Do not let him rearm!
And they're dead. Who are these cultists? God. I hope they don't show up in the rewrite.
I am Cormac, warrior of the Templar Order. If it is the Skeleton King you seek, then you will have to fight your way past John Dar. There is no reason we should hunt alone.
I suppose not. A strong spear at my side could prove helpful.
I love the way he talks. We must defeat John Da. And he just leans into it. I love it. I'm not even making fun. I love it. Jesus Christ. Whatever this meteor thing was. Lots of issues. Structural problems. This place was already kind of falling apart. And it's being used as a base by cultists, whoever they are. Oh yeah, Cormac is wonderfully hammy. Which is kind of funny because his actual personal story, which we'll be showing off throughout the course of this game, is really messed up. Like, really messed up. We'll get back to that later. Later. Oh yeah, definitely not dark. Of course, Crazy Norse, why wouldn't we be?
Black magic bars our way, but the will of a Templar is stronger. This will be a good...
There you go, he said the thing. These are fun. Notice that the same electric thing exists, but it's a lot less terrible than it was in D2. I should explain the dark comments I keep making. I'm mostly doing it in good fun. The atmosphere of D3 is completely different than D1, or for that matter, D2. But, well, one of the most common complaints that certain people made when this game came out was that the game wasn't dark. Those people, the nicest possible way I could phrase this is that I disagree with those people. In fact, I actually say this game is darker than the previous two. Diablo 1 was edgy. Diablo 2 was despondent. And Diablo 3 is dark. Now, I know we're getting into definitions arguments, and God, you know how much I hate definitions arguments. But my overall point here is that this is a game that includes lots of excellent, well-done, poignant, personal character stories, usually along the lines of tragedy. the idea of this game being considered not dark just kind of honestly makes me want to laugh. But no, the problem is most people have different definitions of what dark means. Obviously, we can make the joke about, haha, it's not visually dark, because we can actually see what we're looking at. But as I've already pointed out, as was pointed out during the Diablo lore run, it's not about the visuals at all. Although some people don't like the visual aesthetic, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It was all about the thematic tone. But having literally just reviewed the Diablo games, I think for the first time I could definitively, firmly say that I vastly disagree with those people. Because Diablo 1 wasn't dark, and on any sense. Its tone was a nightmare. An inconsistent, let's call it... what's the word I want to use here? I don't want to use the word confusing. More like surrealistic. Diablo 1 was a surrealistic nightmare. Diablo 2 was a slow push against forces that are pretty much always arrayed against you, and a non-stop series of losses. Neither of those really strike me as particularly atmospheric. In fact, I actually didn't give any atmosphere positives. Excuse me, I only gave one atmosphere positive to both games because it isn't there. The only atmosphere that could be considered to be in Diablo 1 or 2 is the one that you pull from it, not the one that's in the game itself, in my opinion. Now, Diablo 3 will also not get a particularly large amount of atmosphere positives, because it's still not atmospheric, just like the previous two weren't. I hate to slam this down so hard, but I'm a little sick to death of hearing this argument. And having literally just within the last week just gone through these games with analysis mode on, doing a full review, I no longer am willing to allow any kind of agreement with people who are saying things that just aggravate the snot out of me. Mr. Red made a random comment. Excuse me for calling you out on this, Mr. Red. And he mentioned he was wondering how many little side stories and little side tidbits, and little detail, little optional stuff that he missed while going through games like this. And it makes me wonder how many people who look at these games, especially the one I'm playing right now, and either only look at the surface level, or even if they actually go through the game, never actually bother to soak in the level of detail and optional fleshing out of the game that exists there. Let me put this into simple terms. Imagine if you played D3 and just paid attention to the main plot. You never did the companion story arcs, you never talked to the people in town, most of whom have their own little mini arcs too. You never bothered to do the side dungeons. You never bothered to read the lore tidbits from the bosses or the enemies or the anything. All you did was main quest. From that perspective, you'd probably look at this and be like, this game sucks. The story is garbage. And you see why that's frustrating to me. Because everything I just mentioned that most people... I shouldn't say most people. That's an assumption. But everything I just mentioned that some people might be skipping over is the meat of the game. It is where so much of the excellence of the game, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of story, in terms of character, that's where the world building is. That's where the characterization is. That's where the themes are. If you just go through and thinking, I gotta stop the D, man, then that sucks. And that's true even if the main plot is actually good. Do you mind if I share with you one of the most common comments I got during the WoW lore run, the big one? Wow, I had no idea that all of these quests were so good, or that these stories were so interesting. I cannot tell you how many people told me during the WoW lore run how much they were impressed by the quest design and by the stories of the quests, because I was sharing it with them, because that's kind of like that's one third of how a lore run is, of what a lore run is, to share the story of the game. And people were just like, dude, this is legit. And I had that comment so many times. so many people, literally hundreds of people, and I'm a dinky little channel, reached out to me and told me how awesome that story was, because most people just skip right through the dialogue and don't actually read the quests. Now, let's flip this for a second. What's the thing FF14 has praised more than anything else? Praised for, excuse me. Now, here's a fun question. Which has a better story? FF14 or WoW? All of it. The whole story. Not just the plot. What's the difference? FF14 structurally approaches its questing and its storytelling in a fundamentally different way. FF14 forces you to do the story in a very linear order, to the point where I gave the game negatives for it, because it pissed me off constantly. You have to do X before you can do Y, before you can do Z, period. But the thing is, you have to do it. The game forces you to do the quests. The game forces you to see the content. Now, I should probably mention that even in FF14, there are I forget what the community term is for it, but it's cutscene skippers, right? The people who are just like, skip. You're never gonna get away from those people. Those people exist. There you go. Boom. That's just how it is. But FF14 nevertheless makes an effort in the design of the game to enforce the players doing the meat content that I just mentioned. Now, whether or not that's a good, bad, or in-between thing is up to you. But you can see how this can affect perception. Because you don't have to quest in WoW. In fact, you literally don't have to quest in WoW. Once you've successfully made your character, you could go off and just grind stuff and do dungeons and turn off everything and completely skip all of the story and all of the meat content of WoW if you really wanted to. There are people who do specific challenge runs, leveling runs, speed runs, that are designed around no quests or, there's that one dude who's absolutely bonkers insane who leveled off of gathering herbs in the Wandering Isle and stuff like that, right? There's, pacifist leveling challenges. There's all kinds of stuff like that. But the point is, you can do that. You can't do that in FF14. You literally do not gain access to mechanics. You do not gain access to information and features. Like imagine if this screen right here was locked behind a quest. Or if this screen was locked behind a quest. Or, you know what?
I need to go back.
Hang on. I got the TP now. I can actually do this. Or imagine if, like, everything about, like this right here was locked behind quests or whatever, right? Because that's how FF14 is. And you get my overall point. Now, I'm not saying either one of these is better than the other. Actually, quite the contrary. Level of quality has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. The only thing I'm talking about is difference in approach. And how that affects appearance and how that affects perception. But I don't give a damn about either, because this is a review. And when we do reviews, we cover everything. And we corner into every little crack and crevice in order to try and cover as much content as we can. So all of that's going to get thrown out of the window, and none of that has anything to do with anything when it comes to FF14 or WoW, from my perspective. And that's not just how I review, that's also how I play games. And all of this has been one massive sideway to try and explain why I love the crap out of Diablo 3. Because I do bother. Because I do the side stuff. Because I listen to the random NPCs who don't even have a name in towns. And I appreciate the voice acting. And I track who's interacting with what and where, and the little hints in the background, or bits of visual storytelling, the wonderful brickwork. And that's just me. I don't know what else to add to that.
You were a Templar, John Dar. How could you succumb to this coven?
The Coven is my brotherhood now, Cormac. The powers we serve will soon rule this world!
Eh. I love how it's Necromancer Betrayer.
Need more arcane power.
Please forgive me. My vision was clouded by the Coven's evil magic.
Betrayal can never be forgiven.
And he's dead.
Thank you for your aid. I will go with you on your hunt for the Skeleton King. But there is one condition. If we find the sacred tomes of my order, they are mine.
That is agreeable, though I wouldn't mind taking a look at them.
Then onwards we go to fight the Skeleton King. May the battles never end.
Okay, so now, as of this moment, we have unlocked the follower mechanic. Some stuff here for fun, like you do. So, followers. So, you can equip quite a bit of gear onto them, which is always kind of cool. Obviously, we cannot put the relic on yet.
Skill should I master?
Oh, we've also...
Ever afraid in battle?
I am guided by prophecy. There's no reason to be afraid.
We are both blessed then. My faith armors me against fear.
Oh, absolutely, Crazy Norse. Like it's a snack, you know. So, abilities. We've got... He has the ability to heal me and the Templar every 30 seconds, or taunt. We're going to go with heal.
A worthy choice.
Intimidate. Enemies hit by him are slowed based on his strength, or regenerate health for you and the Templar based on his strength. Yeah, we'll go slow.
My power grows.
Cooldown of 20 seconds. Big ol' hit, or charge, which is a big ol' hit and a AoE stun. 10 seconds. We'll go with that.
A useful skill.
So, the MSQ in Skyrim is jog. When we review Skyrim, which will be a part of the BRPG block, the main quest in Skyrim is going to be so bad that it's going to be hard to catch up from that. It's okay. All the other side quests suck in that game too. But anyways, follower system. I like this. I like follower systems like this. We actually have already technically reviewed a system like this because we've covered Tor before. But this is a lot better than... This is exactly what it sounds like. It is the development iteration of the follower system back in D2. Back in D2, you had a dude or a dudette, and they had, like, 2 abilities in some cases. In some cases, they only had 1. And they had a couple of equipment slots. And that was kind of it, but it was nice. It was still a good thing. Here we have a much larger gradient of gear. They can benefit from unique stuff and set stuff. And of course, they've got the relic. We'll talk about that later. And they've got the beginnings of you being able to decide what they can do. We also have multiple followers instead of just one. Well, I'm saying that wrong. Obviously, we have multiple followers, but how do I explain this? The followers in D2, they're not characters. They have voice actors. I'll put that to good use. But all they have no character, they have no relevance in story. If they just were Thanos out of existence, nobody would even notice, story-wise. Here, Cormac, who is that guy right there, who's voiced by Dominic Keating, oh my god, is actually a character who has a story arc I just referenced. And all 3, well, technically 4, of our companions all have a story arc, and every one of them is one we're going to be trying to show as much as we can. So that's all kinds of awesome. We're going to jot down some things here really quick. Cormac is literally more of a character than we are. That is absolutely true. Yeah, there you go. There's a surface-level dark game. Drakengard. I appreciate that people like Drakengard. I can even see why. That's the end of that sentence.
When we returned from our horrific defeat in Westmarch, my beloved king lost all pretense of sanity. He seethed with rage, spitting curses upon us as traitors. With great sorrow, I ran him through.
I mean, sounds like a normal king to me. You failed to defeat the enemy that you were ill-equipped to fight. You're a traitor, die! Stab, stab, stab. Anyways, bottom line, if anybody here prefers D2 to D3, no judgment.
I'm unstoppable.
I will admit with total honesty that I don't get why, but no judgment. Correct, Mag. That is Dominic Keating. I don't even remember what that is off the top of my head, Master Man. Not that I can think of off the top of my head, Lord Harriman. Like, maybe My Little Pony, because even the bad stuff in that setting doesn't even come in the same, like, zip code of bad stuff in other settings, or real life.
If only they could see me now.
There ain't no judgment here, Epic. I've said that so many times. It actually irritates me. No offense to you, Epic, of course. It actually irritates me how many times I have to reiterate that I have no problem with people enjoying a video game. Like, the fact that that's a statement that I have needed to say like 10 times in the last 3 days is really frustrating.
A glorious development.
That shouldn't be a thing I need to say. Ever. It should just be a thing. It should be like this. Hey, Lar, I like D2. Cool. That's it. We're done. We're done. We did it. Oh, we got a bunch of stuff. What did we just get? Storm armor. Oh, yeah, that's going to be cool. We can now do lightning damage. And now we've gained... Oh, another thing for Frost Nova. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's make Frost Nova even better. And now we can make... Hey, Mockingbirds, you want to do fire damage? You like fire damage, right? You like fire damage? Do you like arcane fire damage? Sorry. Burn! Burn! Yeah, just exactly. I just need to have a freaking banner running across my screen that just says, it's okay to like games, and that's it. We're done. End statement.
I will forever live in anguish for my last attempt to honor my king. As we lay him to rest in his burial chamber, he manifested as a hideous skeletal demon. Gorash and my other knights were overcome at once, but I fought on.
Oh, God. I mean, if you say so, Crazy Norse. Guys, I think Crazy Norse is actually crazy. Yeah, you notice I'm actually being a little cautious here. I mean, I can just crank the difficulty down, but why would I want to do that? I'm hanging just fine. I mean, you're absolutely right, Sean. I mean, you of all people should know that I have no problem with someone disagreeing with me about something. Since you and I violently disagree on a point, and we do. We've talked this over to death. We both just fundamentally disagree on the Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 issue. End statement, right? Like, I'm not sitting there like, oh, people who like Mass Effect 1 must be purged. We must burn the heretic. Oh my god. I do like that charge. This entire city must be purged. Damn it, Arthas, no! How could you even agree with that? As your future king, I am ordering you to purge this pancake.
How does that feel?
There's also the... I don't know what to call that. Alright. How many of you in chat... We're going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. How many of you in chat have heard of Star Trek Enterprise? Or Voyager, both are accepted. Now,
your defenses are nothing.
For those of you who... well, actually, honestly, just question for everybody, and I mean this sincerely. How many of you either have yourself or have heard someone else give the, let's call it the generic opinion, that Voyager and Enterprise suck? I suppose I should raise my hand on this one. Now, here's the problem. Here's what we're kind of building up to here. Enterprise, especially early Enterprise, does absolutely suck. I have done a full rumination on the series. I think I could say that rather firmly. How many of you seen Enterprise Season 4? How many of you liked Enterprise Season 4? How many of you like Enterprise Season 4 so much that you have had to work very hard to convince people to watch it before? Possibly including yourself.
If only they could see me now.
Now, obviously, people's opinions are going to vary, because that's how opinions work. Everybody has different opinions. But there's this thing. I tend to refer to this thing as the general cultural consciousness. Because this is very much about perception. There's this thing where something will gain a reputation and never really loses it. To this day, it's been 20 years since Enterprise and Voyager were out. To this day, there are still people who have the exact same opinion of it and have this exact same... It has the exact same rep that it did 20 years ago. Whether that's deserved or not, that's a little bit...
to count how many we've killed, but I've lost track.
87. Whether it deserves to have that permanent mark on its record or not, that's a little more of a philosophical opinion question, which I'm not actually touching on. But the point is, there are people who for 2 decades have refused to watch Voyager and Enterprise because of that thing where they had that initial reputation of sucking, and that reputation has never gone away.
And now I wander, cursed by my once beloved king. Evil gnaws at my bones, and I cannot risk putting my beloved Tristram in danger, should I fail to contain that which tears at me. I must venture down into the labyrinth, to die alone.
Now, obviously this doesn't cover everyone, and obviously opinions are opinions, blah, 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 blah. Let's ignore all that for a second. The relevant point here is that let's talk about WoW in particular. In World of Warcraft, the quests were an afterthought when WoW came out. I've talked about this before. I've done my due diligence on WoW. The initial quests were supposed to be it, and then you were just supposed to go out and kill things like you did in every other MMO at the time. It was only in playtesting early on in the alpha when people started to realize that quests could be main content. So a lot of them were kind of flung together, and, well, there's a reason that the joke of 10 bear asses has endured for 15 years, right? Yeah, there literally was not enough quest content to max level in launch at launch of WoW, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I don't think WoW ever got past that.
Didn't see that coming.
I don't think that particular reputation ever really went away. Now, again, whether that's fair or not, whether that's acceptable or not, that's not really the question here. It's just a thing. You know what my least favorite quests were back in WoW Vanilla? Okay, a lot of them, but actually, 1,000 Needles. So let me ask you a question, Mr. Ed. Why do you think so many people, for so many years, have just kind of ignored the content of quests in WoW? That's still true. Let me say something else, which is directly related to this statement. WoW doesn't begin until endgame. Which is a goddamn lie, by the way, and always has been. Even at launch, that was not a true statement. But that rep existed. A lot of emphasis and point was put on endgame for various reasons I don't feel like getting into. Diablo 3 Wizard, Trihex. And so that attitude kind of got there, and the reputation stuck. I know people who still think that the only point in leveling through an expansion is to get to the current endgame. Whether that's true or not, it's a little more debatable. But the rep proceeds regardless. Oh, I know, Crazy Norse. I'm well aware. I myself have said several times, in anger, and I'm just going to say it like that, in anger, that it pissed me off how many times people would whinge about the lack of content in Kata. This is when Kata was new. Ironically, I've heard a lot of people be more positive about Kata in the years since. But when Kata came out, people whined. Just whined. By the way, for those of you who are not familiar with WoW, who do not understand why this pissed me off so much, Kata is the expansion that has had the most content of any expansion of WoW. Nothing has ever come that close to the ridiculous amount of content that Kata has. It's actually kind of crazy that they managed that. It's one of the reasons why the gap between Wrath, the final Wrath patch, which added the Halion fight, and Kata Go Live was huge. It's one of the biggest, it's one of the single biggest gaps in content ever in WoW's history. I saw it. Yeah, Kata. I appreciated Kata. You know, ironically, I'm not sure I disagree, Huthor. If FF14 had pulled a Kata, which, by the way, I've heard several FF14 players, including me, argue that they should pull a Kata, they would force you to go back through the new world. Because that's how the structure of FF14 is designed. And I bet you people would love the hell out of it. Because there's a lot of good stuff in Kata. I've always gotten so much flack for this. But I've always stated that Kata is when WoW actually became a good game. And I get so much flack for that opinion. I still think it. Even to this very day, I think Kata is when the game finally became like an actually legitimately enjoyable game. Instead of an irritating game with occasional moments of good. Wrath? Oh my god, dude. Do you remember Wrath quests? Because I do. I mean, Pandaria is in the running for my favorite expansion. There were several good dungeons. I mean, dungeon design, let's be real. Dungeon design, boss design has been two of the best gameplay elements of Blizzard games, or I'm saying that wrong, of WoW, since vanilla. And I know that sounds strange because vanilla's bosses are actually really basic and boring.
I'm so good,
But you have to remember that those basic, boring bosses from vanilla were literally record-breaking. Like, they were completely unheard of. Nobody had seen boss design like that until then. You know what the boss designs are of raids in, I'll use a direct example, EverQuest? So there's a dragon. It has this much health, and it hits this much damage. Go kill it. That's the boss fight. There's nothing there.
Arrayed against us that are stronger than we ever imagined.
And obviously,
greater purpose lies behind these trials.
Cormac.
But I do not yet know it.
It is destiny. Let us keep moving.
We don't have destiny doesn't exist. Yeah, and it took hours. God, it took hours. Now, EverQuest is the low-hanging fruit. I apologize for diving for the low-hanging fruit there. But the point I'm trying to reach is that even in vanilla, they were way ahead of the curve on boss design and dungeon design. And they never stopped being ahead of the curve. That is still true to this very day. Shadowlands, for all its crap, had great dungeons and bosses and fantastic raid design. Same thing with Dragonflight, by the way. The most recent one. Still nailing it. Still absolutely nailing it. That's what I thought. So, what I'm trying to say is that, yes, even though Wrath has lots of issues, it still had good boss design, it still had good dungeon design, it still has one of my favorite raids in the entire game to this day. In fact, it has two of them, Ulduar and Icecrown Citadel. I mean, Yogg Zero is a great fight. That is an oldie. I honestly do not, Ross. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't want to say it because all I'm going to do is get everyone to hate me. And as much as I enjoy heaping hate upon myself...
I like to think the world is safer now.
Well, I don't actually like that, so... See, I don't agree with that, Gavator. I like Ulduar, but... like, Blackrock Foundry? Oh my god. Blackrock Foundry is actually probably the best raid I've personally encountered in that game. Like, just from a purely gameplay mechanic thing. Oh, and how it was structured. Okay, I'll actually agree with you on that. In fact, it's funny you say that, because as I've been going through the rewrites, I've been designing the game underneath the hood of the story. Obviously, I'll never have the power or resources to actually do a remake of Diablo or Final Fantasy 1 or whatever, but it's fun. You know, leave me alone. So, the way that I'm going to go ahead and... I've been designing that is in many ways inspired by Ulduar. Let me use a direct example. In the rewrite of Final Fantasy II, you gain a spell called Ultima. Ultima is very good at killing enemy casters and preventing them from casting, or, you know, and debuffing their magic abilities. And that's kind of it. That's its big shtick. So you go fight this massive, incredibly powerful mage, and you don't have to use Ultima. If you don't use Ultima, congratulations. There's your hard mode. Stuff like that, right? Pretty simple stuff. Oh, Jesus Christ, Huthor. No, I don't know if we can take it. I don't know if we can take it. We all know what terrible, terrible thoughts lurk within the heart of Huthor.
I am returning to town.
No. Wrong button, wrong button. I meant this button. Yeah, they leaned onto the, we're just gonna have... Whoops, no. They leaned on the, we're just gonna have a hard mode option in WoW, and frankly... frankly, I preferred unlocking it, like, dynamically. I get that it's harder to do, it's just, it's better. So, now let's see. Let's do
that will serve me well.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of new abilities. Hang on. So what do we got down here? Prodigy. When you cast a signature spell, you gain arcane power. Yes, please. No attunements. Let's not do attunements. Really, Huthor? Hang on. Alright, I've killed Huthor, so he can't infest the rest of us. We are all now safe from his horrifying thoughts. Oh, we're gonna do more fire damage just for you. Just for you. More fire damage. Fire. Oh, that's not fire damage. We do have Exploding Blast now, so that's kind of cool. And Magic Weapon also knows one of the better buffs. We're just going to put that on right now. Fire damage. Fire damage. We also got this ability. Hey, Diesel Edge. Sorry. Nobody should have to watch my stream. That's a fate worse than death, honestly. You know, to this day, probably the most controversial opinion I have about WoW is that I love the flying mounts. I'm not joking. I've been slowly pushed into a corner on that bit by bit over the years.
Still waiting.
As distaste for the flying mounts has been growing. I've never changed my mind on it. That's never been a thing. It probably never will be at this point. Flying mounts are going to be pluses to gameplay, you know. Having said that, I love what they did with them in Dragonflight. You know, actually turning it into gameplay. So I don't like that at all. We're going to go back to... We'll go back to this. You're going to have to ask someone else, because I don't even understand why people don't like flying mounts. Like, I can't speak to that, because I legitimately don't understand it. Let's do... Oh yeah, I need to show that off, too. And we'll go K'al, get a shield. Well, let's do Storm. Storm's fun. I mean... How many of you have ever experienced going from the new zones?
I'm unstoppable.
And then having to go down to using a regular old flying mount after the dragon flying. And it's like, oh wow. What have I done?
I'm glad that fate has brought us together on this path.
Why is that?
You fight with both honor and ferocity. I know that a pure soul must burn within you.
You say that, but there's a lot of dead people everywhere I go, and I don't know if that's indicative. What level should you get mounts? That's an interesting question. Here's the problem. The answer is wrong question. Some zones in WoW are very clearly designed around flying. The most obvious one, and one of the oldest ones, is Storm Peaks. Storm Peaks are absolutely designed with flying in mind. They're also huge. It's, in terms of just sheer real estate, it's one of the largest zones in the game. So you should obviously have flying before you do the Storm Peaks. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because overworld design is part of mount design, because mount design just makes traveling from point A to point B shorter. There are other things about mount design, but that's what we're talking about, right? So, to use a direct example, Mulgore should be like this, whereas Storm Peaks should be more like this. In other words, if we were to fiddle with what level at which you get flying mounts. The only way that that would really work is if we were to actually go back and do an overhaul of map design. I wonder what's down here. Bunch of stuff to break. Maybe you could just run past most of these cutscenes that are about to play.
Keep your distance from him. This burden is mine to bear. May death bring peace from your madness, Leoric.
Traitors! Even in death, the armies of Condorus will still obey their king, even if you will not.
I'm telling you, Giga. Planet cake. And I'm hungry. This is optional, too.
You dare to bring the warmth of life into my tomb?
Yeah, the one reference.
We shall put you down, Hellspawn!
Oh, he does a great job in this. The guy that got to voice Leoric, he's legit. They also have wonderful modulation on him. Something people don't actually appreciate as much is it's harder to do than it sounds to get good voice modulation. Blizzard usually nails that.
If only they could see me now.
Hi, Evo. I'm glad to know that you're still here, still breathing, still functional. Yes, Leoric is not in D2. It's referenced, but he's not in it. Oh, I know, Crazy Norse, and I agree. It's probably one of the reasons why they only reference that once in one of the intro videos. That's actually a more complicated topic than it sounds like, Gavitor, because I'm actually a big proponent of what I call the playground concept in MMOs. It's something we had a huge discussion on back in the FF14 review last year. The summary of the concept of the playground is you want your players to have cool stuff. Not just neat stuff, not just, you know, high-level stuff or strong stuff. No, cool stuff. Things that are fun. And the problem is, you're playing an MMO. And so you can't just give the player cool stuff and then take it away from them, then we just have the Legion problem all over again. You also, however, can't not give them fun stuff to do, because then doldrums set in. The playground is the alternative to that. You can have the cool stuff within the domain of the playground, whether that's a zone or an expansion or an area or whatever, which is why I answer this in reaction to your question. So on the one hand, it's kind of irritating that you can only use some of that cool stuff in certain zones, but on the other hand, it makes absolutely perfect sense and is probably the same thing I would do. Boss time.
You will never defeat me!
Correct, Evo.
You were defeated the moment you surrendered to madness.
Now, remember Giga, think about how far down this is. Think about the fact that there's like a pit down there that keeps going down. How far down does this go? There's like 2 or 3 levels below us just in like underwater aqueducts. Hey, go out here. Thank you very much, as always. I agree with the whistle thing, by the way. Yeah, it's just the biggest cake. It's the biggest cake. I'll put that towards Loop Hero, and as a reminder, go here, you can put it towards up to 2 additional things if you'd like to. Honestly, my favorite hero in terms of just quips is Cormac. Because of course it is. You're looking at him, Evo. Wizard. I mean, we're only up to the Skeleton King. We're nowhere. Cool looking tomb. Kind of looks vaguely like a boss arena. I don't know why. I love his mace. I also love playing as him in Heroes of the Storm. He's one of my favorite characters. Probably one of my mains. So, I hate to mention this. Some people dislike the boss design of D3, and I have absolutely no idea why. And you know why? Because the boss design in Diablo 3 is boss design. Like, there is design to the bosses. This guy summons ads, he's got a swinging attack, he's got the teleport swing, which he just did right there. He actually has a do-nothing action because this is actually our tutorial to boss design. Whoosh. Whoosh. Like, this isn't much, but it is a boss fight. Yeah, in Diablo 2, boss fights they have stats and you know, usually like some kind of ranged attack. And they also happen to have like an element type. They do a specific element of damage. Like Dariel did cold, or Andariel did poison. Like, they're not great, you know? I didn't give a negative to any bosses except Dariel and Diablo. Nail. Correct, do I hear. It is for free, as I like to say, because most people tend to understand that instantly. Boop. Boop. I'm not trying to say anything wrong with liking D2. Damn it, Tim. I will destroy.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
The point I'm trying to reach is that the boss design in D2 wasn't. Not that it was bad, that's a separate thing. Just that it wasn't. D3 has boss design. Now we will have to go ahead and decide as we go through whether it's actually good boss design or not. Even this guy, who is the tutorial boss, is fairly basic. Like I said, you've already seen everything he's gonna do. Oh goodness! Oh goodness! I do like the fact that there's actually combat music now, which was an innovation from in D3. Excuse me. Do I think bosses in D2 had too much health? It took me an hour to kill Diablo. Actually, I think it took more than an hour to kill Diablo. If that doesn't answer you, I got nothing.
I'm so good, I astound myself.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Popanix. We're not even there yet, and I already agree with you on that. Because that's a fun fight, but I don't remember how long it took us to kill Dariel. I wasn't really keeping track. The only reason I knew the Diablo thing is because we started that stream, you know, at the Chaos Sanctuary. And we didn't kill him for like an hour and a half. I'm not trying to call anyone stupid. If I want to call someone stupid, I'll do it. I am way too old at this point in my life to not say, hey, you're dumb, when I mean it. Like, if you told me right now, hey, Lord, the Earth is flat, then I'm just going to say, no, you're dumb. Because that's dumb. Like crazy... No, I don't call Crazy Norse stupid. I call Crazy Norse crazy. Big difference. So, some of you may or may not remember, and I don't remember where I talked about this. It's been a long day. Forgive me. But sometime today, either during this stream or during the announcement game video for this stream, I talked about how much I realized how D2 is so much better of a game with a friend, with co-op. Now, obviously that's true with a lot of games, but what I mean by that is D2 sucked solo. Like, it was very unfun. I guarantee you that I would have had a substantially more enjoyable time on everything in that game if I'd been playing with so much as one other person. And I know that because I've done it. Even when Pax and I were playing, like, the same issues are still there. So Pax and I were talking about this last night. When Pax and I used to play D2, we used to corpse bomb the hell out of Bale. Because you kind of have to the first time you get there, when you're first going through. You don't have, you know, any particularly good gear, and you're relatively low level. But we could corpse bomb them, and it went a lot quicker, and it was a lot less frustrating to corpse bomb with a friend than what I was doing yesterday when I was doing it solo. And that's my point.
Stronger within.
Unlike this game. This game is, of course, fun with friends. I should know, it's freaking awesome to play with friends. I plan to do it later. In fact, I'm going to do it again later this year. Yes, I'm going to replay this game again later this year with friends. Because it's extremely replayable, and it's a lot of fun to play with friends. But the distinction is that this game is still fun to play solo. That's that big distinction right there. Okay, now, to catch up a little bit. So that was Loop Hero, the LTTP randomizer, and the messenger. And then Savicom was like, hi, I'm awesome. And I'm like, well, hello, awesome. I'm not. And you... Oh, God, where's my log? There it is. You put it towards Mock of the Ninja. No. Mask of the Ninja. Isn't that Mark? Someone do me a favor. Is it Mask or Mark? M of the Ninja. I'm going to write that down as M of the Ninja really quick. Then we got Suikoden 4 and Suikoden Tactics. Thank you, Savicom, as always. And thank you again, Glad here. But yeah, like Tim was saying, just about everything is more fun with friends. That's a near universal truth. I have seen, I cannot tell you how many times in my life, in my 41 years, that I have encountered a situation which I would not and did not enjoy solo that became fun because I was sharing it with a friend. I mean, that's such a huge truth. You know why I got into watching Formula One? Or football, for that matter. How about working on a project? How about gardening? One of the things my sister used to do all the time, I shouldn't say used to, she still does this. She did this last week. Is when I'm out doing a lot of the heavy lifting to help with all of the gardening work, she'll come out just to keep me company, just so we can chat and share on the experience, because it makes it better. Never mind things like video games, which obviously Raft. I have actually beaten Raft twice now. And I actually hope to do a stream of it someday. But let me tell you, the stream for that game is going to kind of suck, because we're going to be doing it solo. And that game just is nowhere near as good solo, right? And that's just so true for so many different things. So many different things. Now, the distinction here, the relevance and the significance. Oh god, yeah, Grounded would suck. I do not want to play Grounded solo. The relevance and distinction here is that if you make your game fun co-op and single player, congratulations, because that's harder to do than it sounds. Now, give me one moment here, please. Damn it, Evo. I bow before I look at it. Oh god, I can't get up. Help! Help! Okay, where's Dive? Oh no, Dive's on my bed! I can't, I'm screwed! I can't get up! That's okay, this is the rest of the stream now. So, as I was saying, No, okay. Is STO better solo? I've only actually played through STO solo once, and that was for the review. If you remember, for the lore run, we still had people. And of course, obviously, I continue to play STO. I'll be playing STO tonight with a friend. Briefly, we're just doing the daily, but still. Yeah, Lotro? That's a terrible game solo, my god. Thank you, Evo. I will put that towards Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, Dragon Age Block, and Untitled Goose Game. Now, I should also mention something, because I've gotten a couple of comments on this before. I've had a couple people say, Lore, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, and you don't do anything right, and you're always a bother and in the way, and you're worthless. That's the other one. So I hear that all the time, right? But the other thing I tend to hear is people yelling at me for constantly talking about how much better certain games are in co-op, and how much that has tainted my particular perspective or opinion. And I can't disagree with that. I have the great fortune of having multiple friends who are into multiple of the same types of games I have, and I've had those friends since the late 90s. Just as a random question, how many people in chat are 24 or younger? You don't have to oust yourself. Just think of it in your head. And I'm just curious of that, because I've had those friends for longer than you've been alive. That's not bragging. It's kind of weird, actually. Because that is the fortune I have had. I have been able to experience that co-op gameplay for 20 plus years. We're closing in on 25 years at this point. And that absolutely has changed some of my opinion and perspective on games. I'll give you one example right off the top of my head. Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana is not that good of a game. Go ahead. I know the immediate knee-jerk reaction that everyone has when I say that. But it's not that great of a game. It's very visually amazing. It has a fantastic soundtrack. And it has co-op. It was one of the first true, no-really co-op ARPGs. Might actually be the first. And that's awesome. And you see where I'm going with this. I don't have to finish this sentence. You get it. My opinion on Psalm is so high because I've played it so much. And the reason I've played it so much is because I played it with friends. Alright, it was Gary, specifically, and no, some, unfortunately. Although, one of these days I'm going to conquer the world, and after I've sufficiently conquered it, just kind of flatten everything out a little bit, I'm going to go visit and just play Psalm with him. Probably get some sushi to do it, too. We can knock out Psalm in a single day. In fact, we can do it in a single night. We know that game inside and out. Couch co-op for PC? I've done that. It's awkward, but I've done it. So, you've seen me be very positive about the game we're playing. Who's ready for some negatives?
Finally, the crater.
So, the meteor was a dude.
It was you that fell from the sky. I don't believe that you are the source of the evil in this place.
I am. I remember falling.
Then who are you? Why are you here?
I am not your enemy. I think. Yes, I believe I have come with a warning. The darkness. The darkness is coming, and I don't remember.
I should bring you back to town. Cain will know what to do with you.
For the record, I guessed who this was pretty quickly. it's not that big of a thing. I'm still not going to tell you it because this is still a pseudo lore run. So we're not going to reveal stuff until it's revealed. But this just was kind of like, really? Correct. It has gotten 9 positives for New Game Plus, Ross. I say Ross.
I have traveled far, only to find that the fallen star was a man. Who is he? Why has he come? He recalls nothing, but Cain may have the answers.
So here's Evo's amazing artwork, as we've already discussed. Oh, the bricks. The bricks! They call to me. They sing to me. I've been trying not to gush about the visuals too much because I feel like I spend too much time in D2R on that. But also because Act 1 is kind of like the same as every Act 1. All the Act 1s kind of have the same general visual style. But when we get to Act 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, you're going to see me just go off the wall because, God, this game is gorgeous. Alright, so, moving on.
This is what fell out of the sky.
No man could survive such a thing. Who are you? What are you?
A warrior, I think. I came bearing grave news, but I cannot remember.
Your message might be all that can save us from impending doom.
Let's get this out of the way. Negative to amnesia. Hang on. It's actually 2 negatives. Here's the dealio. Speaking as a writer, a damn good one, one of the things a writer wants is they want to have that reveal moment. They want that impact. They want there to be a second where the viewer or the reader or the player is like, and there's just that emotional reaction, right? I should know because I absolutely seek that out too. There's actually a moment in the FFR rewrite script that some of my my readers actually, or my actors, flat out said, got them every now and again. And that's just, it's a wonderful feeling, right? Having that moment of, ah, yes, because that's some of that satisfaction. Here's the problem. The problem is a lot of writers have absolutely no idea how to do that. And so one of the most common ways to do that is to want to have a big reveal and have no idea how to establish or build up to it. So you have Batman Arkham Knight, to use a direct example. I'm not gonna list the specifics because I'm not gonna spoil unrelated streams or unrelated games, excuse me. But Batman Arkham Knight is a recent game that I can think of where it's like, and then it's this thing, oh my god, and then the reveal comes and it's like, really? But one of the cheapest ways you can ever have a reveal is to have the character who knew the whole time what the reveal was have amnesia. God, I'm sick to death of amnesia in fiction. Off the top of my head, I can think of maybe one example of a game that, or a story, any story, that's actually done amnesia properly. It's Final Fantasy VI, before you ask. Amnesia is so overused, and it's overused specifically for this reason. It's there because, structurally, it's there because a character who should know stuff, therefore doesn't, so they can't reveal it to you. It's a way to veil information from the player, or the reader, or the watcher. And, ugh, God, it pisses me off. Yeah, it's actually funny. FF7, which also does amnesia well, and I'm putting that in quote quotes, doesn't actually have amnesia. Can you make an argument that FF5 used it appropriately? Do you want me to answer honestly, Sabacon? Anyways, FF5 does not use amnesia well. FF5 does exactly what I just said. FF5 has a character who knows a lot of plot points and only remembers them when the viewer, the player, is supposed to know them. The character in question should be able to tell us several things right from the word go. And because they want to keep those things from us beneath the veil, he only remembers them when they become relevant. That being said, we all know that the best scene in FF5 is when the character in question takes the question mark, which is a separate sprite that's bouncing over his head, and throws it off screen. That's not a joke. That actually happens in the game.
Tell me everything you remember, stranger. Every detail.
Falling. Fire. A sword of great power. It was part of me. But it shattered into 3 pieces as I fell.
It is vital that we find those pieces. I believe the sword made whole will restore your memory.
The goatmen are rampaging through the fields. Could the sword have anything to do with that?
Of course, of course. Just as the dead rose around the stranger, the sword pieces drove the goatmen to madness.
The goatmen won't stand in my way. I'll get the sword.
And yet you'll notice that everything I just mentioned about FF5 applies here literally. This character right here should be able to tell us several things. He can't because amnesia. It's okay. We now have what is effectively a plot, go get some quest items quest in order to try and restore this situation, which exists, of course, because we need to be segueing into our tutorial villain. We haven't actually met the tutorial villain yet, our Act 1 villain. We're about to, though.
The Horodrim were powerful mages gathered together by the Archangel Tyrael to defeat the 3 prime evils, Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal. They devoted themselves fully to the destruction of the demon lords and left behind valuable tomes and teachings.
How did you become the last of the Horodrim?
My ancestor was the leader of the Horodrim, Jared Kane. When the Horodrim died out, their tomes stayed in my family. I was thrilled by tales of the Horodrim as a little boy, but it wasn't until I returned to them as an adult that I realized they contained deeper truths.
Oh god, amnesia asses. Each one you loot, you forget which quest you're on. Good luck, Bamber. Do I think... good night, Giga Pudding, even though you're probably already gone. Do I think Disco Elysium did Amnesia better? So, Disco Elysium functionally doesn't actually have amnesia. But, I would say yes. I'm going to go and lean towards yes on that one, because Disco Elysium has a shattered mind. Let's call it what it is. And it does that quite well. It's one of the things I didn't like about that game. It's good. It's just not for me. And then there's KOTOR, which is its own thing. I think when we get to KOTOR in the Star Wars rewrite, which is funny because it's going to be the very first thing, it's going to be interesting designing that, or rather not designing it at all because it's going to go completely differently. Pardon me. Hey, look, there's a dialogue about the Archangel Tyrael.
Tyrael is the angel of justice. He has been helping mankind for generations, though he is forbidden to do so in any direct manner. Long ago, the high heavens and the burning hells made a pact as a result of the Sin War that they would not interfere in our world.
But the demons have obviously broken this pact. Why can Tyrael not involve himself directly?
The Angiris Council, the archangels that lead heaven, almost destroyed our world once to keep the demons from spreading their corruption upon it. If Tyrael were to act directly, it would alert the Council to the demons' activities here and imperil us all.
Which is what we in the business refer to as weak sauce. Weak sauce! Oh my god. Pathetic how weak sauce that is. You can't tell me that the Angels and the Angiras are not aware of what Tyrael's up to. And even if you could, that being the tipping point and the excuse for not getting involved, that's... no. But anyways, I love how Deckard, unprompted, just starts talking about Tyrael. Right.
Can you remember anything else?
Only that there were surges of light and a kind of pain.
How do you fare now?
The emptiness gnaws at me. It is a constant frustration.
Calm yourself. The sword should help you remember.
That's because it is bad writing, Tim. I love this game to death, but as I mentioned before, the further we get into the plot, the more those negatives are going to slowly pile it up. Okay. So, let's see what we picked up here. Another legendary helm. Oh, cool. Let's see what this one is. So, here's another thing. If it's not obvious, even the exact same item can have variances. This was true in Diablo 2 as well. But it's not that uncommon to get the same legendary twice. Except you'll notice the one on the left is level 8, and the one on the right is level 20. So, yeah. Probably the latter, Gavator. Again, focusing just on the plot. Yeah, we got much better rolls over here. Like 98% on that. That's near perfect on that. If only we had a gem to put into it. I'm so tempted to just put a gem in there. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We don't need the experience. Because I could just walk over to my bank right now. And, let's see. There we go. Helmet. Reduce all cooldown by skills by 12%. Or plus 41% experience. And I could just effectively have double that. I can also have plus 80% gold from monsters. I could have percentage life. I could have reduce all resource costs by a thing. Yeah, obviously this is a brand new account. I've never played this before. Like there's some stuff I could do with this helmet, but let's not. Let's not. We're being legit. We're cool. We're cool. We're being pseudo legit, or kind of legit. Look, shut up. Hey, we got Squirt's necklace. That's really, really good. Wow. While not taking damage, damage dealt is increased by up to 100%, and damage taken is increased by up to 50%. Yep. Also reduce resource cost and some other fun stuff, including crit hit by 28%, which is really good for a level 17 necklace. We're going to go ahead and put that on. Yeah, it is physically possible for me to play a brand new account. I have no interest in doing so because I want to show off the whole game. Part of the method by which we're going to be able to show off all the classes is by virtue of the fact that I have all the classes. And then, of course, we've got the seasonal stuff, which we want to show off too. But that's different. I actually thought about doing our solo character seasonal, but eh.
If there's a sword here, we will find it.
Oh yeah, did you catch that? By the way, my loot luck in D2 was gutter trash. I was always behind on gear. I don't have that problem here. Notice we're already using different color, by the way. We have left the gothic tingy area, and now we're in like a loose autumn.
I could do that again.
I have heard the most ridiculous tales about travelers being ambushed by vicious trees. It is too much. Despite their names, the wood wraiths are not plants, but fully mobile beasts who have taken on the guise of foliage to ensnare their prey. Only a simpleton could be fooled by such a trick. Some time ago, I revealed that the Khazra, or goatmen, were originally humans until the Vigerai corrupted them. For many years, these creatures were simple and lethargic. These days have ended. Khazra attacks are widely reported, and the number of fatalities is higher than anything in my records.
Excuse me. Ah, okay. I was actually going to say something, I can't remember what right now. Doesn't matter. Evo, we need to talk, okay? Because when I saw you wearing, like, you know, I don't know, what Mr. Ed's wearing, I'd be like, wow, that looks terrible. Like, here, check it out. Let's see what Bragwin's wearing right now. Let's do it. Let's call Bragwin out. Alright, here we go, here we go. Who are you currently playing? I think that's your current. Yep, that's your current. So. Oh, wow. Look at that trash. There, I'm just pretending to be Evo's friends. Actually, this is... She's got some interesting stuff here. Certainly got plenty of int going on. Good God. What are you playing? Oh, you're playing a Necro. What we got? Interesting. That's fascinating. Are you melee building? Let's see, you got Bone Spikes, Death Nova, Corpse Lance. Yeah, kinda, yeah. And Swift Harvesting. Yeah, no, that kind of tracks. Yeah, Pandemonium Loop can be fun on certain builds. It can also be really frustrating on some builds. But you'll notice, one thing I'm not doing here, Evo, is being a dick! I know, it's shocking. Rule 0. Alright, I've taken over the world. Here's the rule. Rule 0. Got any problems with that? Tough. That's actually a good question, Blanchable. Got anyone named Richards? Especially if they're president of the United States. They're gone. Oh, don't be ridiculous, Tim. We're not going to put people in jail. We're going to execute them. Duh.
My old masters could see me now.
Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff. What do we get? Ooh, yes. Chain the hell out of that. Oh, hey. We got something called Disintegrate. We'll talk about that briefly. We also got Teleport, which is not as useful as it probably should be. At least not initially. We got our Familiar, which is always nice. And in fact, actually, let's switch over to Ice and get a Chill Aura. An Explosive Blast is neat and all, but what I really want is my Familiar. Yes, yes. Good. Excellent. So now we have Armor, that, and that. 3 buffs going on. You know what else I have? I heard it. Where'd it go? Oh, whatever. We have this! Death! 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 What's actually funny to me, there are several abilities in this game, which I've always gravitated towards on several classes, because of sheer cool factor. And yet, having stated that, a large number of them are actually not all that good compared to other abilities. Let me use a direct example. On Demon Hunter, there's an ability where you just sit there and you rapid fire like you're shooting a minigun. That's such a cool ability. It also kind of sucks. Like, it takes some work to make that ability actually worthwhile. You can do it. You can make just about anything work in this game. But Disintegrate... Well, Disintegrate has several other abilities that just outpace it across the board. Still cool!
Your defenses are nothing.
As we've said many times, Viscerality is something this game does quite well. You think, by the way, if you think Disintegrate looks cool yet, you haven't even seen nothing. This is vanilla Disintegrate. Wait until we start having some of the runes on this thing. Look, laser beams are cool. What do you want from me? Yeah, Meteor summoning Disintegrators is it's a fun little setup. You'll notice that as much as I make fun of it, it is doing a crap ton of damage. Like, that it is doing a bonkers amount of damage. But I think at least part of that's because we just got some insanely good loot luck. Like, our overall power level's just gone up substantially.
If my old masters could see me now.
Oh yeah, someone asked earlier what the relationship is between your level and enemy levels. So let's play this as simply as we can. whoever the host of a given game is, their level is the level of the enemies. So if I host a game and I am level 1, every enemy in that is level 1. We actually showed this off earlier because I went. I remember I made that.
Been dead long. Whatever killed him must be near.
Remember I made that hardcore character, then rushed off, and was actually just being just fine in quote unquote high-end level stuff.
How does that feel?
Because all that stuff was level 1. That's how we do lightning right there. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lightning everywhere. Unlimited power. Sorry. Now, I have spoken negatively about level scaling for years. Mostly because of Oblivion. And then I started playing Blizzard games. And all of a sudden, I started really enjoying level scaling. It's hard to properly explain why. Because it's the same general idea, it's just implemented better. It's really what it is. Now, I don't want to overpraise, because obviously there's still some mistakes and still some issues there. But the general idea is so many of a creature's abilities, what they can spawn with, you know, in terms of suffixes and prefixes, what they can drop, obviously their health and their damage are all determined based on their level. So, I'm level 23, which means all these creatures are level 23, which means they will have level 23 stats and abilities and all sorts of fun stuff like that, right? And there's a couple of other variables that go into that too, which I'm not getting into right now. Oh, neck. So, I don't know. I don't know how to put it, but I actually do enjoy the level scaling here. Pretty much across the board. I also enjoy it occasionally in WoW. And I have to put it that way because what they did in Legion was wizardry. Was voodoo magic. And they have used that same scaling tech periodically. I call it scaling tech instead of just level scaling. Because so much more is going on under the hood than just level equals ability, right? Like, do you understand what is required for a level 2 to successfully do a good job of healing a level 60? Because that's what they did. They made that work. That's insanity. Also, another thing I happen to enjoy is the option to level wherever I want to, but that's another unrelated thing. I'm leveling so fast, I think it's just kind of murdering everything now. Probably cardboard golem. That's true, Von Falkenstein. As I said, it probably boils down to implementation. So let's actually look at our abilities, because we've leveled twice since I've last looked. We've got Arcane Power Blade. No, I'm good. What else we got here? Slow Time. Oh, wow. Even more slowing. Storm Armor now has the ability to shock people for even more. And we've gained the ability to have Astral Presence, which we're going to turn on immediately. You'll notice that at level 24, we already have more abilities, more options for abilities, and more build possibility than you ever get in D2 on a class. Sorry, that sounds like D2 sucks. What I'm trying to say is that one of my biggest complaints about the class design in D2 was how long it took to get to the point where you actually felt like you were playing the class. And despite that, I still gave a bundle of positives to the class design in D2 because it was still good.
I do not understand how evil walks in the day. Should it not fear the light?
Perhaps the sun is neutral.
But the light is both a literal and figurative foe of evil.
You know. Anyways, even though the classes in D2 were legit, and were some of the best aspects of that game, I just think the classes are done much better in D3. Again, from just a gameplay design perspective, in addition to some obvious viscerality and fun. So about a year and a half ago, I purged my friends list of basically everyone venters because of some harassment problems. So I just purged the whole list, just nuked it down to the bone. So if you're wondering why you don't see me on your friends list, that's for anybody. That's why. The only ones we have here left are those people. You'll notice 2 of them are the same person. So... yeah, people are weird. Anyways, so. Would I play D3 if it was solo only? Yes. Would I replay D3 over and over and over and play it for hundreds upon hundreds of hours if it was solo only? No. Have I mentioned, by the way, that another thing I like about D3 is inventory management is less of a mechanic? Which I know sounds like a weird comment. What I mean by that is I don't have to go back to town every 20 seconds because I've looted 3 things. Instead, there's really only 2 types of items. Ones that take up 1 slot, and ones that take up 2 slots. And you'll notice even like a big old thing like that is still only a 2-slotter. While that does reduce the overall mechanic / gameplay of it. Really. And that sucks. It is at least a lot less frustrating. So, you know, that's neat. Exactly, Tim. Like, you can design good inventory mechanics. Here they decided to just kind of get rid of them. And I don't blame them. Can we give you a 2-hander?
No.
Someone clip that, please.
This will help.
Favorite voice acting from the class characters? Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, okay. Whew. All right, we did it. We answered correctly. Evil will not kill us, maybe.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it, too. Listen, Evo. Alright, so both wizard actors are good. Let's just start with that. But that's not true of every class. Because in some cases, some of them are demonstrably better or worse than the others. In my opinion, of course. For example, I think the female demon hunter does a better job of the male demon hunter. And I think the female monk and... I guess that's it. The female monk does a better job of the male monk. But I think the male barbarian and the male witch doctor do better jobs than their female counterparts. That's all just preference. None of them are bad acting. None of them. Which class has the best hair? Either female wizard or female monk. One of the two.
That's a familiar blow. The piece of the sword I'm looking for must be in this cave.
I am still on master. You can see it in the upper right. I've actually been tempted to raise it again. And by again, I mean... I go up to Torment, because we haven't been on Torment yet. Because, I mean...
A dark coven has formed in Tristram, and I fear that there's...
Kill him!
Sorry, what was that?
A dark coven has formed in Tristram, and...
We must hurry with...
God damn it!
Magda will be here soon.
Quit interrupting me.
Piece glows with the stranger's magic.
Who are you to take
Hey, it's Magda. voiced by Gigapudding.
Yours? I believe you are mistaken.
Regardless, I have claimed it. I am Magda, and I lead this coven. The shard is mine.
To hell with you, witch.
Very well. Let the games begin.
Okay. You got anything else? Like, you got more than this, right?
Well fought. But you will never possess the next piece. It has fallen where only the ancients may tread.
She is more devious than she appears.
So, how many of you have ever noticed that she's actually being held up by the two maws that are fluttering on her shoulders? Which has got to be uncomfortable. But yes, Magda was a sufficiently interesting character that I kept her in the rewrite. Not every character stayed in the rewrite. God. I mean, she probably doesn't weigh much, Evo, but, you know... No, I'd say they're well designed for each class, Tim. Good question, though.
I am returning to town.
I agree, Tim. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I could find some mods I can lift you, Evo. What do we got? What do we got? Nothing, really. Dump it all.
We are not the only ones seeking the sword. I had to take the first piece from a witch named Magda and her crazed minions.
Uncle Deckard, you sound like those dark cultists you told me about.
Very good, Leah. You have been paying attention. Stranger, does any of this jar your memory?
I have no memory of this coven, but I sense a far darker shadow guiding its hand.
I don't know if I agree with that sentence.
Magda's coven is a remnant of an ancient religion called the Triune that worshipped the primevals as gods.
But the primevals died 20 years ago. Who does the coven worship now?
The last two evils, Asmodan and Belial, remain. And if either of them are behind this coven, then our troubles are only beginning.
No, I think we're good. Those two are pretty pathetic.
This fragment seems very old and very powerful.
Indeed, it feels familiar to me, though the rest is still unclear.
Your sword would seem to mark you as a great champion.
If that is what I am, then my strength has gone with my memory.
Perhaps when the sword is complete, it will restore both.
Hang on. It's super duper irrelevant, Nero says. Just, as we talked about, the only real major variance is if D1 never happened, would be a very minor change in how Diablo headed east, and Cain would probably be dead, and that's kind of it. Hang on, I keep forgetting to do this. That's my fault. I apologize. Come, Colmac.
Uncle Deckard believes the key to unlocking the stranger's memory is reassembling his sword. I wish I could say this was another of Uncle's crazy theories, but I can't deny that these ominous events are starting to really scare me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I saw DI, which means D1, in my brain. I saw that it was an I. I just sort of, you know. How relevant is D immortal to the overall lore? Not at all. Speaking as someone who has actually seen the entire story, if you ejected it completely, nothing would change. Which I feel like I just said, but I stand by completely. Favorite companion in D3? Cormac.
Magda taunted me, claiming to know where the next piece is. She said it fell where only ancients may tread.
That makes me think of the drowned temple near the festering woods. I remember you telling me about it, Uncle.
Exactly, Leah. The temple was home to the Nephilim. Leah, your knowledge could be invaluable. You must go and help our friend retrieve the sword piece.
The Nephilim were ancient humans with fantastic powers. Legend holds that they waged a terrible battle near the temple, and that their ghosts still war with one another.
Diablo Immortal's story is crap, with one exception. The one and only part of the story that's actually worth a damn is the bit in which you go into the past and play as the group who were defeating Baal in order to seal him inside Tal Rasha. Now, that's a neat section. It's actually decent. But there's really nothing to it. It doesn't add or change anything. It's just, hey, here's a bit of the history of Diablo that you can play through. And then you go back to the terrible main plot. You know what? Hang on. Why don't I go a little closer?
Come on! Let's kill these. You and I aren't so different. I have great power within me, too. The only difference is I have no control over mine.
That sounds troubling.
It's only happened a few times in my life, and only when I was in grave danger. Something rises up from deep within me and, well, I can't really explain it.
Well, that doesn't sound like a red flag or anything. I wouldn't worry about it. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. 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 One of the things that is almost amusing to me is you can tell the writers of this game are running into the problem. We need to introduce something early enough so it has some impact when it actually shows up. And then it's like they couldn't figure out how to do that. So we've already, in the space of about 10 seconds, shoved in Leah is special and Nephilim. See you around, Tim. Have a good one. Right next to each other, too. You notice that they introduced those two plot points immediately next to each other. We must find the Nephilim. I have a great power, too. Right. Okay. Yeah, we see where that's going.
You there! Please help! They're going to kill my friend!
So here's the scoundrel.
Thieves are going to kill my friend if we don't do something. Help me break these bonds and see for yourself!
What do they want with your friend?
She's just a farmer's daughter, Sasha, but she has a relic that the thieves are after.
Where is the relic?
My sweet love will save me.
Release the girl. The relic belongs to her.
You actually believe what this scoundrel tells you? Fine, you fools. We'll kill the both of you.
And they're dead.
A glorious development.
Oh, they're dead too.
You won't get away from us this time!
This isn't over. The rest of the Thieves Guild will find you.
Here's the relic, my love. I hid it like you asked. Father's grown suspicious of us, but that won't matter once we're married. It won't be long, right?
Of course, my dear. Soon we will settle down to a quiet life of tilling the fields and raising children. But first, I have to sell this relic. Alas, I must travel away with my friend here to do so.
You're coming with me?
Yes, yes! You look like you know a lot about markets. Now, lead the way!
And I actually like this character, but I sure as hell didn't at first.
Relic is a fake! Gods, I should have known! You seem like you could use a helping hand, and I sure as hell don't want to stay around here.
Please tell me that you're not considering this criminal's proposal.
You should recognize him. He's a fairly well-known actor.
Ah, there you are.
What of your betrothed?
Betrothed? Do I look like the marrying kind to you? By the way, my name is Lyndon.
Sure.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
Any guesses? TSB? Yeah, it's Troy Baker. It's Troy Baker. He is an excellent voice actor. I am quite fond of him. He has a lot of range, too, which is somewhat rare in a voice actor. A good one, anyways. Here, have a hat. Let's see. Here, have a bow?
Suits me.
Oh, yeah. So I want you to have crippling shot,
Very well.
anatomy, multi-shot,
That's
and...
my choice too.
Yeah, we'll do
That will
banish.
do very well.
And have some random
Nice
junk.
choice.
Yeah, just for fun. Wow. I'm actually starting to get to the point where I can see some of these things and actually use them. Anyway, not that any of those exist.
Perhaps the tomes are in there.
How does one become a Templar anyway? Were you born to the Order?
No. Our scripture says, as a farmer reaps his wheat, so must the Order harvest and purify the weeds.
That seems a little unfair. You are not a weed.
You speak out of kindness, but you do not understand. When they took me, they saved my life and my immortal soul.
Right. Well, we'll continue that story later. Right now.
You told me that your Order saved your soul by recruiting you. What are these sins that haunt you?
I cannot tell you.
No good comes from ignoring your past. You should seek knowledge, not hide from it.
You misunderstand me. We are literally unable to recall our pasts. The Inquisitors stripped my sins and the memory of them from me, leaving me pure.
Yeah. That's exactly as bad as that sounds.
It is good to fight with you again.
Where are you from?
Kingsport, the city by the sea, home to the great merchant fleets and endless nets of reeking fish.
And your trade?
I am between jobs at the moment.
You've never done an honest day's work in your life, have you?
Nonsense. I am the most honest thief you will ever meet. Wanted, one relic, scarlet, roughly the size of a man's fist. It was stolen 2 months past during a deplorable theft from the Merchants Guild Bank. Those apprehended were not in possession of the item. The relic is greatly missed by its rightful owner, who offers a reward for its safe return.
So, yes, I do, totally, Grazing Horse. First, thank you, Glorious Barbarian. As always, if you know up to 3 things you want to put there towards, please let me know. Second of all, we talked earlier about how amnesia is misused in this game, and it super is. Cormac's amnesia, by contrast, is brilliant. It's awesome and horrible, and just, oh my god. It's pretty much exactly what you're thinking. It's actually worse. Ah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the game forever. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Don't worry, don't worry. We're going to turn it up. We'll go up to 3. Switch back to the scoundrel.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
Oh yeah, and I choose people based off of amusement, Crazy North, to answer you.
What the tomes say of Alaric and this temple is not encouraging.
There's Pax for some reason. Gothic 1. You got it.
Never apologize.
So, the moment party members come into the variable, that is the very second that followers leave. You cannot have followers and people at the same time.
You must be Alaric the Guardian. Uncle Deckard told me of your eternal watch over this cursed place. I thought it was a myth.
Are you Nephilim?
No. There have been no Nephilim for a millennium.
Yet another myth. You seek entrance to this temple, but only a Nephilim can enter. If you retrieve the keys from the outlying tombs and use them on the gates, we will see who and what you truly are. Follow me. I will raise the bridge that you may pass. Seek 2 tombs in the woods beyond. The Warrior's Rest and the Crypt of the Ancients. Within them reside the keys to our sacred temple.
So, since Pax has decided to randomly join me, we can now talk about several aspects of why this game is ludicrously pro-co-op. First thing, a surprisingly small quality of life feature. I know you're tired of me saying that about this game, but here we are. You notice his minions? How many of you even saw them, really? Because there's several. But they're transparent and translucent, and actually in some cases you can't even see them. They are designed to be that way, so that you do not get the visual noise of them, but you still get a little bit of implication of what they're doing. Oh, shoot.
Really? It's such an open and beautiful city. It thrives on trade and new ideas. There was always something new and exciting to hear or see.
It can also be gross. So that's cool. So anyways, so the translucency thing is nice. But let's talk about a couple other things. You know what? I don't feel like being around PAX right now. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I want to go see what PAX is up to. Wait, you know what? Hang on. Actually, hang on. Let me go down here. Oh, shoot. I lost where PAX is. Hang on. Let me go to PAX really quick. The ability to bounce between town and the person is... It's hard to properly explain how much of a quality of life convenience feature this is. Just this. Not the fact that co-op exists. Not the fact that it's good campaign co-op. Just the fact that you can right-click someone to go right to them. Or, if you happen to be in town, you can just click on their banner to immediately teleport to them. This is what I was hinting at earlier with regards to the banner. This is the other use of the banner. Just bam, and you're there. And because teleporting is instant from town, both the banner and teleport to player are instant features when you do it from town. You can still do this in the field, but as I showed off earlier, it's a cast time, just like teleporting is. And yeah, this, even if we were to corpse bomb something, there's absolutely no need to actually corpse bomb something like we did back in D2, where we were effectively bugging the game out and abusing and misusing it. Instead, we can just do it and warp right to the party member in question. This not only encourages you to split up, but it also helps encourage grouping up. So, all of that's really cool. Let's jot down some of these here. So we've got... Yeah, exactly, Talia. Pax says howdy. Now, the other thing, while we're on the subject here, so as long as you're in the same zone, and a zone is fairly large, you share credit for Evo. I've actually already talked about this, but what this means is, if I was just to stand here and Pax was to go off and do this quest and come back, I get full credit for everything he's doing. I get all the benefits of all the stuff he's doing. So, that's some awesome co-op sharing, so ease.
When this is over, I could open my own little inn somewhere.
Now, it's not perfect, but it is something that is a thing. Then, we have the fact that loot. So the way they do loot is something I am extraordinarily in favor of. I believe Diablo 3 started the personal loot system, and then WoW kept it going. But I'm not sure about that. Either WoW or Diablo 3 came up with the personal loot system. The personal loot system is very easy to explain. All I have to do is go kill some stuff. They're a little bit more high health because we turned up to Torment 3. Yeah, still killing stuff.
Ghouls are stronger than most risen dead, but they gain their fortitude through horrific means, feasting upon human corpses. These creatures are least dangerous while eating, but do not disturb them, or it shall be your limbs between their teeth.
Okay, so nothing's dropping any loot. Give me a minute here.
We're cut off. They'll be upon us at any moment. Stand firm, brothers, and they will sing of our valor through the ages. The enemy is here for glory!
Come on, drop something. You notice one of the problems D2 had was it drops a lot of junk. There's not as much junk, and also even junk has a use, so that's two negatives just automatically gone from D3.
The dead will never find rest until they let go of the past.
I
So.
studied these battles in Kane's books, but seeing them is much worse.
So, now that a piece of loot has dropped, I can talk about this. Jesus Christ. That does not exist for him. Pax does not see that loot on the ground. I do, so it's my loot. Whee! Of course, I can then drop it, just like that. This is the loot he got. And we'll go ahead and drop that. And you get the idea, right? That's why it's called personal loot. The loot you see on the ground. So there's actually 3 different states of loot. So the loot, when it drops, you're the only one who can even see it. Other players literally cannot see your loot drops. It's invisible. It's completely not a thing. However, you can obviously share loot, and there are some limitations and restrictions based on sharing, most of which makes sense. If I open a bounty chest, for example, I can't share any of that. But if I kill a boss and it drops a nice legendary, I can share that. There's some other restrictions. Like, for example, you'll notice that that helmet right there is account bound. So I couldn't give him this helmet. Like, that's not an option. But if a legendary falls and I decide to play around with it, I have, I believe it's 2 hours to then share it with him, and he then has the option to take it and use it, or do whatever the hell he wants to with it. So, personal loot and loot sharing. Then we have co-op, and then campaign co-op, then proper campaign co-op, while we're on the subject.
Uncle Deckard called these flying creatures death with wings.
Oh yeah, I actually do have a ruby, but let's not do a ruby. Let's do an amethyst. That sounds like a good idea.
A foe worth killing.
Oh yeah, also, oh jeez, it's our first Waller. So if you go to decide to reroll something or otherwise enchant an item, it'll be like, are you sure? This will bind it to you. It'll bind it to you. I actually like both characters, Uthor, so I don't know which one I would pick there.
This is amazing. It reminds me of being a child and searching for lost artifacts with Uncle Deckard.
Leah, we are carving through the path of the damned. What is amazing about this exactly?
You could see me now.
I also don't find Leah annoying. I find her position in the story annoying, but not her as a character.
I used to love traveling, seeing the world.
When the balance is lost, everything changes.
Yes, it's not like it was.
We were so sure we could beat whatever traps the ancients had laid for tomb robbers. But the dead bodies of my friends testify to the folly of our arrogance. I will be dead soon as well. Our greed was our downfall.
Hang on, we need to go kill Euro really quick. There we go.
Your grave awaits.
Not really, Ravager. We're just screwing around for a minute, showing off how co-op works. Although I'm not sure what lower level characters PAX even has. 'Cause I'm only 28 still.
I'm just warming up.
So what you're saying is Wesley is your favorite character in TNG, Uthor. Don't want to be right. You don't have one. You know, I could... Well, let's talk about that off camera.
Alaric says that our people can survive the coming battle, but I saw the truth in his eyes. Why did he order me to guard the beacon of honor? Those shambling things are slaughtering my people in the forest above, and there's nothing I can do to stop it.
Yeah, go ahead, Pax. Thanks. Because I'm about to do an event, which is probably going to kick my ass, but I think we can manage it. Still, Pax is showing off just how ridiculous high-level Necros can be, which we'll be showing off at some point, too. Yeah, I myself have yet to write a kid, and I'm not sure I want to try. That's a good point, little Billy.
If there's treasure to be had, then I'm in.
Favorite class other than Wizard? All of them.
The temple is open. Enter and defeat the guardians within. Although they are my brothers, they will seek your death when you enter.
Okay, so we have leveled a couple of times. Let's see what we just picked up. Yeah, we don't want that. We do have... We have a new Disintegrate, which we're going to use. It's one of the more common Disintegrates to use. At least for sheer cool factor.
Tell me about this inn you want to open.
The world is so dangerous. Everybody needs a quiet, safe place to rest and recover. A way station on their journeys.
You must make your own safety.
And I will.
Yep, she's getting that in. I'm just going to give this away. Leah lives in the rewrite. That's all I'm saying. Alright, let's see. I don't need to like that. Alright. So, this is the new Disintegrate. It looks like this.
Look at this architecture. This predates the Sin War.
I can teach you more about sin.
Please don't.
It actually does fire damage in this setup.
None may enter the inner sanctum.
he's got some health. Look at that. I don't remember immunities being a thing in D3. I don't know, Zach. Probably because it's an easy way to be threatening with it.
Rise, my brothers! Rise and do battle!
It's okay, I got enough for 3! Crash here real quick. Lasers for all.
Need more time. I am stronger still. I need healing. Done.
Hi.
Your strength rivals that of our greatest champions. What now do you think you are? You may enter our most sacred place.
Oh, cool, but I just gained the ability to be a walking death. So I'm gonna probably switch to that really quick. Right after I get my fire thing. Let's do... And... So... This is normal, but it can cause enemies to explode. So, you know, that's neat. We're gonna keep doing conversions, because of course we are.
When this is over, I could open my own little inn somewhere. If I live.
I don't think that life is for me.
Well, if you ever want a job, I will consider your credentials.
So kind.
Sorry. Yep. Let's put that... Let's put it here. Which I don't want to lose this. Because we also have we have Explosive Blast, which has gotten slightly better, which is cool. Then we have this ability called Archon. Just gonna show this off for a minute here.
The noble hero fought his way here just to die.
Magda!
And who is this you bring with you? Adria's daughter? She has power within her. No matter. Your mother will soon share your fate, little one. The shard is mine. Fill this temple with their blood!
Okay.
Did she mean my mother will share my fate? Could my mother be alive after all these years?
She wants to torment you. Don't listen to her.
This fight was too easy. She's toying with us. We must get back to Uncle Deckard right away.
So this is Archon form. It's exactly what it sounds like.
The Worldstone has been changed. Our children are born weak and suffer short lives. The demon Nereza promised to restore their power, but instead turned them into misshapen creatures and sent them to war against us. We may die, but not before she is sent back to the burning hells.
There's your extremely abbreviated version of the Nephilim backstory. Yeah, Archon... My entire wizard build is centered around having Archon having nearly 100% uptime. And just shrekking everything with it. It's a really fun way to do it.
I am returning to town.
Yeah, banter is bonkers in this game, Crazy Norse. It's kind of insane, honestly.
The World Stone was an ancient artifact of immense power. It was used not only to create our world, but also to control mankind. The original humans were known as the Nephilim, and their power was such that it was feared they would tip the balance in the eternal conflict between the high heavens and the burning hells. So the World Stone was tuned to lessen our powers, turning mankind into what we are today. But now that it has been destroyed, it is conceivable that the powers of the Nephilim will reappear.
That's another reason for the time skip. They needed to make sure that people were born and develop into Nephilim since the destruction of the World Stone.
Tyrael was forced to destroy the World Stone when Baal, the Lord of Destruction, corrupted it in his attempt to control all of mankind.
The World Stone's destruction must have unleashed incredible energies.
It obliterated Mount Arreat, the mountain that housed it, leaving only a smoking crater in its place. And nothing has been heard from Tyrael since.
I heard that you took Leah on your searches for ancient artifacts and tomes. Wasn't that dangerous?
Not as dangerous as you might think. There was a calm about the world then. Most people paid no mind to an old man and young girl, weaponless and penniless, crossing their lands.
That's a weird thought. Like, safety in Sanctuary?
Uncle Deckard and I traveled all over the world in my youth, looking for lost lore and artifacts. It was so exciting, crawling around ancient temples, digging through forgotten crypts. I feel fortunate that Uncle Deckard raised me the way he did, the things I learned from him. But now I don't know. I see what his obsession with his quest has cost him, has cost us.
Good night, TSP.
The Drowned Temple was once known as the Sarsium Emporis. It was the most sacred of their temples, a site where legend claims angels would come to impart their wisdom to the Nephilim.
That's funny when you think about it. So my character name is soon to be deleted, although it got a little truncated, so it's actually soon to be delete, which is how you pronounce it.
We were only a step ahead of Magda, but now we have the second sword piece.
I remember a glow streaking towards a fishing village.
That must be Wortham.
Ah, brilliant, dear Leah. Have the ferryman take you there.
Do you know anything about this coven?
I cannot say, but there is something about them, a darkness, that is known to me.
A darkness? That's a little vague, isn't it?
The coven may be part of a greater evil. Perhaps I intended to fight it.
If you're going to fight, you'll need your sword.
Yes, yes, of course. We must fight against the evil coven, which, as we've already described, is the Act 1 pseudo, tutorial villains. And ironically, probably better designed than most of the actual villains in this game, but that's neither here nor there.
I lived in Chaldeum not too long ago. You said you were there with your father?
Yes, he was a diplomat. We had a manor with servants and terraces, all of that. Everything changed when the Troubles started. Somehow, rumors spread that my grandfather was responsible for the king's madness. My father's work fell apart. No one would speak to him. He kept believing it will blow over, though.
Did it?
No. I'd rather not talk about it now, if you don't mind. I've work to see to.
And yes, sorry, I'm kind of spacing a little bit here.
I don't see you undressing our fine hero with your treacherous eyes.
I would look at you instead had you a weapon like that.
Jesus.
I was thinking... Don't hurt yourself. I was thinking that we should try to recruit more soldiers. What happens if we get attacked again?
We just spent a week fighting off hundreds of walking corpses outside our impenetrable gates. We're the hardest bastards within 100 miles. Who's going to attack us?
I can think of a couple people. So I think this is when Covetous Shen is actually unlocked. So we'll go ahead and talk to him now.
Ah, very interesting topic. I sell jewels.
Well, I suppose that could be interesting. What are you doing so far from Shionsai?
The women. Young ladies chasing me around day and night, begging for a kiss. I had to leave. It was the only honorable thing to do.
I somehow feel that you aren't being entirely truthful with me.
Truth? Never touch the stuff.
So, in case that doesn't sound familiar, that's James Hong. who is a fantastic voice actor and has done a lot of good stuff over many years. He also does some good stuff over in Mists of Pandaria back in WoW.
You are very brave to venture outside the town gates. I hear there are all sorts of dangerous things crawling around out there.
If you consider the Walking Dead dangerous, then I suppose you are correct.
Oh, that's terrible. I only meant the rats and snakes. I can see the fires even from here. Wortham burns. It is only the truly evil who force the innocents to suffer for a battle they have no part in.
He is in Mulan, I'm pretty sure. There's a pretty good chance that you've heard him at some point or another, because he's in a lot of stuff. So, sorry, Opec, you asked about the rewrites. The first of the fully completed rewrites, which is the Diablo rewrite, actually goes live this very Saturday. I'll be doing a stream kind of setting up and announcing it, and it'll actually go live on YouTube. Oh yeah, sorry, thank you for reminding me. We're going to expand on that later, but definitely plus to Covetous Shan. Yeah,
I need to take the ferry to Wortham.
I will take you, but beware. Smoke rises from the village.
Welcome to Wortham.
They're destroying the town. Get out while you can.
Death to those who defy them.
So, a mild amusement. I was talking about polish. Polish is actually easy to define. It's the little details and little refinements that aren't necessary, but add to the overall enjoyment of a work. Blizzard used to be really, really big about polish. The reason I bring this up is what you just saw was yet another very minor thing that most people probably wouldn't even notice. If a character is saying something and you kill them while they're giving their speech, it cuts off the dialogue. They stop talking because they're dead. Didn't have to do that. Most games don't do that. And so in most games, just the audio file keeps playing, because that's how it is done, right? But they decided to add an extra little thing just to check if the character is still alive, and if they die, they stop talking.
These cultists come willingly to their deaths. Magda is near.
I'm not even tired.
You know, it's always kind of discouraging just how many people are willingly joining the evil cultists in every Blizzard work, right? Well, at least in the 3 that matter.
My family's hiding in the chapel with the rest of the townsfolk. We must get to them.
Don't run off! You'll get yourself killed!
He's made his choice. Now we make ours.
Nicely done.
Fools! You cannot keep the sword from me!
This is bad.
My servants will burn this town to ashes!
Yeah, in Warcraft we have the, well, actually there's several evil cults in Warcraft.
The bestial hellions are demons that can be summoned from the burning hells with the aid of foul sorcery. They are given to chasing down their foes and attacking them with savage fangs.
Not ready yet.
This usually allows some spare time for their masters to craft their dark spell work and finish off the victim.
Yeah, there's several evil cults in Warcraft. There's the Protoss evil cult, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, in StarCraft, and of course we have several demonic cults here in Diablo.
I hear something coming.
I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, shoot! Ooh, those hurt. Those hurt.
Help me!
Oh, yeah. Yep. We're gonna back off a little bit here. That's Orbiter. It's a new one for us.
grow weak.
Yep. Just back off. Be a little, do a little fighting retreat. One down.
Still waiting.
Notice how both positioning and terrain actually do matter for combat.
My help. I'm going on ahead.
Leah, okay, she's gone.
You saved us.
I seek a sword hilt that fell from the sky. It glows with a powerful magic. Do you know of it?
We found it days ago. I wish we'd never brought it here. Come, I left Virgil to guard it. We will be glad to be rid of it.
I'm going back to Tristram to check on Uncle Deckard.
Also, notice that our Life 3 triggered, the one I took from the Scoundrel.
Something isn't right here.
Nah, it's fine. No, Virgil!
Damn, it's not here.
While you were on your hero's errand here, I captured all 3 sword pieces and your friends.
I should have known. I must get back to Kane's house.
What's really funny is she's probably the best villain in this game. Second best villain in this game. But what I find funny about that is she still cannot help herself but to constantly taunt and mock the party. And it's like, lady? So, big moment.
It's your choice, Kane. Either use your Herodric arts to repair the sword, or your dear Leah dies a horrible death.
All this pain, this destruction. What is the sword to you?
To me, nothing. To my master, Belial, everything. Your rage is overwhelming, girl. You win this round, but if the sword cannot be mine, I'll claim the one it's bound to. In the end, the blade shall be mine.
Uncle, you can't die.
Nothing can stop that now. But there is one last thing I must do. The sword must be made whole. Just as I suspected, the sword is of the high heavens. The stranger is an angel. Heed the journal. The truth lies within.
Uncle Deckard!
So, I've never liked that. Ever since the very first time I saw it, it felt like a really rude, almost cheap way to get rid of the character. Now, there is an unfortunate reality that every now and again you do need to actually remove a character from the board. Not just from, like, the obvious storytelling reasons. Sometimes you need to do it because of real-life reasons, right? It's the reason why they pushed a certain character who I'm not going to name from the Dragon Age series out of the Dragon Age series in Inquisition. And that's all I'm going to say about that to avoid spoilers. So, and that was done for real-life reasons, not for storytelling reasons. So every now and again, you just have to accept that you need to push a character off the board. Now, I don't know if that's why they did it with Kain, especially since he shows up in Immortal. But this was not the way to go about it at all. Even if it was the right idea to kill Kain, which I should probably mention I don't agree with, the way they did it was extremely ham-fisted. This is going to be multiple 8 of this one cutscene, because we have a pointless major character death. Pretty much the major character of all the Diablo games has just been offed by the Team Rocket villain. If you're gonna kill Kain, you do it right. Instead, all he does is he gets one last moment of being like, oh.
You know, I have some important deals happening soon. I could go take care of those and come back later.
Yeah, not even Giovanni. Exactly. It's just one of the Team Rocket grunts just killed Kane. And it's like, what? If you were going to kill Kane, which I'm still not sure that's the right move, you got to do it right. It would be a great way to establish Belial. If you're paying attention, Belial has been mentioned several times, including in the scene we just saw. So like 3 or 4 iterations of building up to Belial, which is actually decent. In fact, they do a better job of building up to Belial than Asmodan gets, because Asmodan only gets Act 3, but Belial gets 2 whole acts to build him up, and they do a decent job of it. It's actually pretty decent. So have Belial be the big bad who finally goes ahead and kills Kane, and have that be our primary motivation for, personal motivation for going after him and taking him down. But no. Instead, it's this nonsense. You can go all kinds of directions with that too, since Belial's big thing is deception. But no. Instead, what we have is a death that probably shouldn't have happened, in a way that kind of sucked, and absolutely invokes cutscene incompetence. That is 3 negatives. Yeah, exactly, Crazy. There's so many ways they could have done this better. I love this game to death, and I'm unabashedly just adore it, but there's a reason so many people, including me, bash the main plot. Yeah, so we're up to, what are we at? So we're actually up to here-ish. Down to here now. Yeah, I haven't heard good stuff, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Someday. I'm not going to mention how many gameplay positives we're up to. Tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time as per usual, we will continue the plot. That's, well, it is what it is. Remember, Diablo Rewrite, Saturday.